Chapter 269 Ice Sky Crack Cut. The Icebreak Fist art was a top-rank Earthrealm fist art. There were 14 movements in total, and the last 3 killing movements were extremely hard to train. Until now, Bing Ling could barely perform the third last movement, the Ice Crystal Fist. Although this Ice Sky Crack Cut was not a killing movement, its power was way more powerful than the Icebreak art, and was only weaker than the top 3 killing movements. Swoosh! The perfect ice blade appeared in front of Bing Ling's body. After a slight pause, it flew out with a power that seemed to be able to cut through the air. Because of its high speed and low temperature, it actually left a white ice trail in the air, which was beautiful and dangerous. Murong Qingsheng did not dare to underestimate the ice blade. She reached out both of her hands and gripped in the air. The Sky Demon Power field burst out. Squeak! The ice blade's speed suddenly slowed down, and its surface started to twist slightly. Break! Murong Qingsheng saw Bing Ling's movement again, so she frowned. Her Sky Demon Zhen Qi disappeared like water, turning into the invisible Sky Demon Power field. Bang! Ice shards flew everywhere. Right then, Bing Ling had already prepared a new ace attack, which was the Ice Spirit Exploding spell that she had used on Yichun. The crystal ice ball spun faster, shooting towards Murong Qingsheng as fast as lightning. Sky Demon Palm Print. Destroy. Although Murong Qingsheng had never experienced the power of the Ice Spirit Exploding spell herself, but from the battle between Bing Ling and Yichun, she could tell that it was definitely not a normal ace attack. It was a killing attack. The Sky Demon Power field could defend against that explosive power, but it could not defend against the horrifying low temperature. Without thinking about it, she immediately canceled the Sky Demon Power field and poured all of her Zhenqi in her right arm. Her slim palm carried a power that was as deep as the ocean and attacked in the air. Boom! In front of his palm, all the ice crystals within 100 meters floated up and turned into nothingness. The ice ball, on the other hand, seemed to have sunk into a swamp, and its speed slowed to a terrifying degree. Then, it exploded with a bang and was completely annihilated. If it was in the past, Murong Qingsheng would consume too much of her true qi after using this move, and her combat power would be sharply reduced. However, since the Great Heavenly Devil technique had been upgraded to the 10th stage, she could now easily use the Great Heavenly Devil Palm Print, and the consumption of true qi was no more than 10% of her total true qi. Demonic Palm Print, Heaven's Rebuke. Before she retracted her right palm, Murong Qingsheng's left hand struck out. A shocking scene happened. Bing Ling seemed to be repelled by this space. Her whole body was thrown out uncontrollably, and blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. Her body twisted a couple of times in the air before Bing Ling landed on the ground steadily. She said, "The Great Heavenly Devil art is indeed worthy of its reputation. I have lost." The Sky Flying Demon Martial School had 2 top martial arts. One was the Sky Demon art, and the other was the Great Heavenly Devil art. The Sky Demon art was good at seeing through weaknesses and killing with one attack. The Great Heavenly Devil art was a martial art that mainly focused on attacking. Not only could it train the Sky Demon Power field, it also contained the accompanying martial art, the Great Heavenly Devil Palm Print. Among all the top-rank Earth Realm martial arts in the South River region, it was one of the top ones and extremely hard to train. Although Bing Ling's Icebreak Fist art was powerful, the Great Heavenly Devil art was the bane of it. Bing Ling could not even get close to Murong Qingsheng. "Thank you for letting me win." Murong Qingsheng held her fists together. As the two got off the stage, the audience seating was still very lively. 4 of the top 10 seated contestants had already been eliminated, and there were still 6 contestants left for this round. Among the 6, 5 of them were super popular, such as Si Kongsheng, Yan Qihua, Li Daoxian, Lin Yun, and Yichun. As for Mo Yin, because he had lost it all at Baku, his popularity had dropped drastically, and he was not as popular among the top young warriors. The 15th battle, Li Daoxian against Yan Qihua. Woo! The battling field was silent for a second, then a shocking wave of voices exploded. Yan Qihua was ranked 2nd in the last Hidden Dragon rank, and was the #1 blade artist among the young generation in the South River region. His blade art was extremely powerful and aggressive. Even the older generation of blade artists could not compete with him. Before Yi Chen showed up, Li Daoxian was the #1 sword artist among the young generation in the South River region. His sword art was sharp and ruthless, and he could kill with every movement he made. He was called the emotionless sword artist. One was the #1 blade artist, and the other was the #1 sword artist. The battle between the two could ignite the blood in the hearts of the warriors watching the battle. A lot of people felt their throats go dry, their eyes wide open as they stare at the two on the stage. You and I have not fought for 3 years. I wonder if your emotionless sword art could break my blade art. If Sikong Sheng was the king warrior among the young generation, then the fire spirit prince, Yin Qihua, would undoubtedly be the tyrant warrior among the young generation. His aggressiveness was born naturally, and he could look down on the whole world. We will know after we try. Li Daoxian was wearing blue robes, looking very skinny. Standing there, he looked like he could be blown away by a gust of wind. However, once his sword appeared in his hand, a sharp and ruthless sword intent spread out. The whole world seemed to be covered by his sword intent, cutting everything in its way. Yin Qihua glanced at Li Daoxian and said proudly, 3 years ago, you were not my opponent, and 3 years later, you will not be my opponent either. Right now, I will let you attack for 3 times. Within these 3 attacks, I will not take out my blade. If you can win even 1 or 2 attacks from me, I would not mind losing to you. Li Daoxian frowned. There is no need to let me win. I will let you take out your blade for the first attack. Haha, bring it on then. If I cannot even let you have 3 attacks, how could I compete for #1? Without saying a word, the blade aura around Yin Qihua's body had increased a little bit. His blade was not out of its scabbard yet, but it gave people the feeling of a long blade piercing through the air, which was extremely aggressive. Clang! Li Daoxuan's sword had been taken out of its scabbard. The blade could not be seen. Only a faint sword light could be seen sweeping out and flashing. Break for me! Yin Qihua shouted loudly. His red Zhen Qi shot up into the sky, turning into a huge burning blade that was 30 meters long and slashed heavily in the air. The sword light was like the wind, invisible and formless. Although Yin Qi's burning huge blade, which was made of Zhen Qi, had shattered the sword light instantly, but in the next second, the sword light had gathered together again, slicing towards his opponent's face. Such a sharp sword move, and such a strange wind mentality. Yi Chen squinted his eyes. The sword light that Li Daoxian had waved out was like a gust of wind. Even if the wind dispersed, it was still the wind. Or it could be said that the wind would never disperse. It would always be there. So what if you have the wind mentality? Help me with my blade aura. Yin Qi's right hand sucked in the air, and the sword light was pulled over. Immediately, beams of red blade light shot out from his palm. The blade light was like fire. After swallowing Li Daoxuan's sword light, it became even more powerful and rushed back towards Li Daoxian like a forest fire. Once this move was performed, half of the top young warrior's expressions suddenly changed. How overbearing was this? He had taken the opponent's attack as his own. Li Daoxuan's expression was extremely serious. After 3 years, Yin Qihua's blade art had reached an incredible level. Just relying on the wind mentality would not be able to force him to use his real power. Kill! Once the emotionless sword art was performed, Li Daoxian had thrown away all his emotions. He was like an ancient well without any ripples. His sword did not have any emotions either. All it had was an endless sharp light, cutting everything in front of it. Break it for me just the same. Without taking out his long blade, Yin Qihua's attacking power had been reduced drastically. Facing Li Daoxuan's second sword attack, he pushed his spirit, qi, and soul to the peak. Using both of his arms as blades and both of his hands as blades, each of them had thrown out a couple of meters long red blade light, clashing together in the air. Shoo! 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 The surface of the platform was instantly filled with hundreds of holes. Sword Qi and Blade Qi were flying everywhere like a hornet's nest had exploded, which was extremely spectacular. The third sword attack. Kill. Once this sword attack had been performed, the air had strangely calmed down. The sword light pointed right at Yan Shihua. Yan Shihua kept backing out. He had let Li Daoxian attack 3 times, not only because he was confident, but also because he wanted to challenge his own limit. If he could handle 3 sword attacks from Li Daoxian safely, then he would be qualified to challenge Si Kongsheng. Otherwise, there would be no need to even talk about challenging Si Kongsheng. This sword attack from Li Daoxian was extremely sharp and sharp. No matter where Yan Shihua backed out to, he felt like he was being stabbed by a needle, making his hair stand up. Shoo! Right then, Yan Shihua was finally ready to use his great blade. Without taking it out of the scabbard, he directly threw out a horizontal attack with the blade still in the scabbard. That red blade light spread out, giving people a horrifying illusion of a volcano eruption and lava shooting up into the sky. It clashed with that heart-piercing sword light. Boom! 2 colors appeared on the 300 meters long battling platform. One was a light silver color, and the other was an endless red color. They were clearly separated, and neither of them was willing to give in to the other. Right then, everyone held their breaths and did not even blink their eyes, afraid that they would miss the most crucial moment. In their eyes, Yan Shihua was unbelievably powerful. Without taking out his great blade, he was able to handle 3 sword attacks from Li Daoxian without falling into a disadvantage. It was indeed horrifying. Yichen's opinion was slightly different from everyone else's. Although Yan Shihua's blade art was powerful, Li Daoxian was not bad either. The reason why Yan Shihua was able to handle 3 sword attacks from Li Daoxian was not only because of his extremely powerful power, but also because he knew everything about Li Daoxian. If it were another unfamiliar sword artist who was at the same level as Li Daoxian, Yan Shihua would not have been so careless. Besides these reasons, there was another reason. As everyone knew, 3 attacks was neither too long nor too short. When 2 equally powerful sword artists and blade artists were fighting against each other, if one of them did not carry a blade, then his attacking power would be greatly reduced. However, it would not be a problem for him to hold out for 3 attacks, since he still had the mentality of his blade art. What he lacked was only the attacking power and aura. It would be impossible for one of them to lose immediately without a weapon. Of course, Yan Shihua's power was that he did not fall into a disadvantage within 3 attacks. The number 2 of the last hidden dragon rank was indeed not a normal warrior. 3 sword attacks have passed. 3 sword attacks were already Yan Shihua's limit. He took out his great blade without any hesitation and continued to attack along with his previous blade aura. He had pushed the mentality of volcano eruption to another level, which had shattered Li Daoxuan's sword aura within a second. It was like a flood that had opened the floodgates, rushing towards Yan Shihua. Empty kill. In the previous 3 sword attacks, Li Daoxian did not seem to hold back at all. However, facing a blade artist who did not even take out his blade, his attacking power had subconsciously weakened a lot. Maybe he thought that it was not a fair win. Right then, as Yan Shihua threw out his blade attack, Li Daoxuan's sword aura had reached another level, his sword intent surging. Ding! Dang! Dang! Within a couple of blinks of an eye, the 2 had exchanged dozens of attacks. Burning sparks flew everywhere, and no one could even see where the 2 of them were. That kind of soul-stirring battle had even made the audience forget to breathe, their faces turning red. The sparks did not disappear, and the 2 had exchanged more and more attacks at a higher frequency. For the first time, Mo Yin, who had been operating his sky demon eyes, felt a bit sore in his eyes. Swoosh! A human shadow flew out. It was Li Daoxian. There was a burnt mark on his shoulder, and his clothes had been burned into ashes. Chapter 270. Looking at Yan Shihua again, he was perfectly fine. However, there was a strand of hair missing from his temple, which was flying in the wind and falling onto the ground. Taking my ace attack and not dying. You're the first one in the past 3 years. Putting his long blade back into its scabbard, Yan Shihua touched his temple, which seemed to still have Li Daoxuan's sword intent. Cough! Li Daoxian puked out a mouthful of blood. What a shame. I was still 1 point away. On the 198th attack, he threw out his sword first, cutting off a strand of Yin Chihua's hair. After that, Yin Chihua's attack arrived right at his shoulder. At the critical moment, it was flicked away by Yin Chihua's finger, saving him from a serious injury. However, that burning hot blade light still brushed past his body, causing some damage to his meridians. In the battle between the two, Li Daoxian had lost by half an attack. Awu, the dragon-shaped shadow on Yin Chihua's body, jumped towards Li Daoxian. When it came back, it had expanded from 29 meters to 22 meters, getting closer and closer to Xikong Sheng. Amazing! Yin Chihua is indeed worthy of being the top young warrior who is only below Xikong Sheng. Even Li Daoxian could not stop him. It is indeed amazing, but I could not see through anything at all. I wonder how they managed to decide the winner at the last moment. If even you could see through it, how could it be amazing? Waiting until the two got off the stage, everyone's heart was in their throat again. There were still 2 more battles between top young warriors in this round, and no one knew who would be fighting who. The 16th battle was Su Jing against the 4th Knight. The two styles were quite similar, choosing to fight with brute force. In the end, it was still Su Jing who was slightly better and beat the 4th Knight. The 17th battle was between Gao Feng and Wei Renjie. Gao Feng's sword art was superb, not sticking to a single style, while Wei Renjie's blade art was big and bold, with the demeanor of a master. The two of them fought for more than 30 rounds, and Gao Feng used his sword to knock away Wei Renjie's long blade, and the tip of his sword landed on Wei Renjie's neck. The 18th battle was between Mo Wuxue and Lynch. As an experienced warrior in the Hidden Dragon rank, although Mo Wuxue had just comprehended the blade intent not too long ago, his cultivation was way higher than Lynch's. The two had exchanged hundreds of attacks, but Mo Wuxue's skills were still better than Lynch's. The 19th match. After the 25th match, the audience burst into cheers. Yi Chun was one of the 2 contestants, and his opponent was the head disciple of the Sky Demon Martial School, the Demon Eyes Mo Yin, who was ranked 8th in the last Hidden Dragon rank. Ever since Mo Yin had lost to Tuo Baku, his popularity had dropped a bit. However, some of the powerful clasping Yuan realm warriors would not underestimate him. The reason why he had lost to Tuo Baku was because his opponent's defense was on the higher side, and it would not be easy to see through his weaknesses. Otherwise, if it were someone else who was at the same level as Tuo Baku, it would be hard to tell who would win. After all, as an experienced top young warrior, the Demon Eyes Mo Yin would not be easy to deal with. Of course, no one would dare to underestimate Yi Chun even more. Since the beginning of the elimination battles, he had been winning all the battles without losing a single one. His sword art skills were just as powerful as the heartless sword artist Li Daoxian. Plus, he had the 50% sword intent, plus his extremely calm personality. In other words, Yi Chun was one of the most horrifying young warriors in this year's young generation. He and Tuo Baku were the top 2 new top young warriors. His popularity was right behind the top young warriors like Xikong Sheng and the others. What caught people's attention even more was that the Demon Eyes Mo Yin had trained the Sky Demon art, which allowed him to see through weaknesses. Once he attacked, it would be aimed at his opponent's vital parts. Judging from the previous battles, Yi Chun's ability to see through weaknesses was just as horrifying. What was different from Mo Yin was that Yi Chun was good at seeing through the weaknesses of martial arts. As long as it got serious, his opponent would not be able to perform a complete martial art. Bing Ling and Qian Yun were the best examples. On the battling platform, Yi Chun and Mo Yin stood 80 meters away from each other. Just like a small portion of the people, Yi Chun would not underestimate Mo Yin. In fact, among the top young warriors besides Xikong Sheng, Yin Chihua, Li Daoxian, and Murong Qingsheng, Mo Yin would be ranked number 1 in terms of battling with him. Even Tuo Baku and Lin Yun would be slightly weaker than him, because Yi Chun was a martial artist himself, while Tuo Baku and Lin Yun were not as good at it. However, Yi Chun also knew that Tuo Baku and Lin Yun were more powerful than Mo Yin, since the two of them had both reached the 11th realm of their martial arts, which made them extremely powerful. The Sky Demon Eyes are very mysterious. They can see through the weaknesses of things, and nothing can hide. Yi Chen's protective Jinqi layer is a bit weak. I'm afraid this battle will not be easy. Indeed, among the top young warriors, there are a few who could counter each other. For example, Tua Baku could counter Mo Yin, and Murong Qingcheng could counter Bingling. In a way, Mo Yin could counter Yi Chen. You are right, but Mo Yin's movements might also be seen through by Yi Chen, and it would not work. Without a real battle, no one would know what would happen. The battle had not started yet, but everyone was already expressing their opinions. Your protective Jinqi layer only has 2 weaknesses, which surprised me a lot. Mo Yin did not attack right away, but said something suddenly. Yi Chen smiled lightly. Even in nature has weaknesses. As a human being, I naturally have weaknesses as well. However, knowing the existence of weaknesses and hitting them are 2 different things. He had already trained his mysterious great art to the highest realm, and it came from the Heaven Dream Battle Palace. So, it was natural that he would not have many weaknesses. As for the other top young warriors, although their martial arts were of a very high rank, none of them had reached the highest realm. They were only more powerful, and their protective Jinqi layer had even more weaknesses than him. Mo Yin sneered. I haven't finished yet. Your protective Jinqi, indeed, only has 2 weak points. But in my eyes, your protective Jinqi itself is the weak point. Under one attack, it won't be able to hold on for a blink of an eye. It might not even be able to hold on for half a blink. Since you are this confident, then I have nothing else to say. From now on, your attacks will not touch me even once. The Star Scar sword appeared in his hand as Yi Chen stopped talking. Mysterious spirit finger. Just as Yi Chen was about to speak, Mo Yin moved. He put his right index and middle fingers together, and a dim light appeared on them, stabbing towards Yi Chen from a distance. He thought to himself, fake and real and fake, this is my fighting style. If it is not because you cannot adapt to it, then I am sorry. All of the warriors watching the battle were speechless. They had already known about Mo Yin's fighting style, but attacking when someone else was talking was a bit too petty. All of the people from the Sky, Cloud, Martial School frowned. They knew how powerful Mo Yin was. Even Tua Baku had been hit a couple of times. If it were not for his powerful defense, he would have been beaten by Mo Yin already. And it was a fact that Yi Chen had trained a weak martial art. He was afraid that his protective Jinqi layer would not be able to block out that finger attack. He could only try his best to avoid it. The mysterious spirit finger could change its route within a second, and this time was no exception. When it was 5 feet away from Yi Chen, the finger light suddenly disappeared. When it reappeared, it was already in front of Yi Chen. Pooh! Right at that moment, a beam of sword light sliced across, cutting open the finger light. It was like it had been waiting for the finger light to arrive. How is this possible? How could he see through my mysterious spirit finger? Mo Yin did not expect to beat Yi Chen with his mysterious spirit finger. In his opinion, Yi Chen would definitely avoid it, just like Tua Baku. If that happened, the mysterious spirit's 7 fingers would be ready to attack. Even if it could not beat Yi Chen, it would at least make him look bad and lose his previous glory. He had never expected that Yi Chen would be able to see through his mysterious spirit finger attack with only one glance. Cutting open the finger light, Yi Chen said lightly, I said it before, your attack will not touch me even once. Arrogant. Mo Yin was furious. He put up his index and middle fingers, stabbing out at Yi Chen. It was indeed the mysterious spirit's 7 fingers that had shaved off one of Tua Baku's eyebrows. Ting! 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 There was no need to throw out 7 sword attacks. Yi Chen had only thrown out 3 sword attacks to cut open the finger light one by one. Moreover, he did not even move an inch. Shoo! After doing all that, Yi Chen's body moved, flying towards Mo Yin at an extreme speed. Back out! Mo Yin switched to his more powerful, mysterious spirit finger attack, attacking towards Yi Chen from a distance. Pooh! It was Yi Chen's Zhen Qi shadow that had been shattered. His real body was already less than 1 meter away from Mo Yin. His blue robe danced in the air as he waved the long sword in his hand 4 times. Ghost Shadow Perplexing Step. His body turned into a black chi flow and disappeared. Mo Yin pushed his Jin Qi and appeared behind Yi Chun within a second. However, what was waiting for him was also a beam of sword light. Pooh! His protective Jin Qi layer had been cut in half. Mo Yin was shocked. Right then, he looked like he had just seen a ghost. No one had ever been this relaxed in front of him, as if he was in control of the whole situation. Meanwhile, he was like a bug on a spider's web. No matter how hard he struggled, it would all be futile. This kind of feeling annoyed him even more. I do not believe that you can predict my attack route again. Mo Yin continued to perform his ghost shadow perplexing step. His whole body turned into a black chi flow surrounding Yi Chun. Looking over, one could only see countless black lines but not a single human figure. Yi Chun took 3 steps to the right, then suddenly turned his body. The Star Scar sword combined with the fast sword poetic perspective threw out an attack. No sword light could be seen, only blood spilling everywhere. Mo Yin did not believe it, so he pushed his ghost shadow perplexing step art to its limit. Towards the end, Yi Chun was surrounded by layers of black chi flow. It was hard to tell which one was real and which one was fake. The Star Scar sword flashed once again. Another stream of blood spilled out. This time, it was even more serious than before. When Yi Chun waved his sword for the 3rd time, Mo Yin froze on the spot, unable to move. It was not that he could not move, but that he did not dare to move. Because the tip of Yi Chun's sword was pointed at his throat. The sharp intent had even pierced through his skin a little, and a drop of blood came out. It will be fine if you do not move. Once you move, you'll have a lot of weaknesses. Hearing him, Mo Yin's face turned red. From the beginning to the end, he had been under Yi Chun's control. His sky demon eyes had indeed seen through all of his weaknesses, but it was still useless. Unless he did not attack at all, once he did, all of his weaknesses would be exposed, and he would not even be able to threaten his opponent. Shoo! Taking back his Star Scar sword, Yi Chun shook his head. Among the young generation, unless they were at the same level as him, it would not take much effort to take care of their opponents. Mo Yin was no exception. The dragon-shaped shadow outside his body had devoured part of Mo Yin's dragon fountain chi. It had expanded to 28 meters, its shape clear and majestic. The audience was dead silent. In the battle between Yi Chun and Mo Yin had lost completely. In front of Yi Chun, Mo Yin's sky demon eyes did not have much of an effect, because all of his attacks had been seen through by Yi Chun. In other words, compared to Tuo Baku, Yi Chun was more like Mo Yin's nemesis. Chapter 271. So scary. He could even see through Mo Yin's movements. How did he do it? A lot of people could not understand. If it was because he could see through other people's movements, then it would be because they had not fully mastered their martial arts yet. However, Mo Yin had trained the Sky Demon Eyes and had a deep understanding of martial arts movements. He belonged to the skillful martial arts school. So how could he be beaten by another skillful martial artist so easily? Phantom Spirit Finger, Ghost Shadow, Perplexing Step, they were both seen through. Mo Yin lost completely. They are not even at the same level. Right next to Li Daoxian, a core disciple of the Heartless Martial School asked, "Head disciple, do you know what is going on? Could it be that Yi Chen's martial art realm is way beyond Mo Yin's, and he has already reached another level? It is for sure that Yi Chen's martial art realm is beyond Mo Yin's, but the difference is not that big. The reason why Mo Yin lost was because he was not fast enough, and he was not powerful enough. As one of the top sword artists in the young generation, Li Daoxuan's eyes were obviously better than others. Not fast enough, not powerful enough. That disciple was still a bit confused. Li Daoxian explained, it was not fast enough, which caused Mo Yin to be one step slower. Although he had attacked first, he could not reach first. That was the key. It was not powerful enough because the Sky Demon art was slightly weaker in terms of attacking power and focused more on techniques. Therefore, he was not as powerful as Yi Chun in either aspect. Naturally, he would not be able to pose much of a threat to Yi Chun. Hearing Li Daoxuan's explanation, the disciple finally understood. I see. If he was fast enough, then even if Yi Chun could see through the weaknesses of his movements, he would not be able to react fast enough. However, if he was powerful enough, then he would not need to care about weaknesses and could choose to fight head-on. Otherwise, he would not be an opponent for Yi Chun at all. Yes, that should be it. On the surface, Bing Ling's fighting ability is weaker than Mo Yan's, but Bing Ling can exchange a lot of moves with Yi Chun. Mo Yan can't. Li Daoxian was more or less right. No one knew his own situation better than Yi Chun. Mo Yan's weak point attack might seem very strong in other people's eyes, but Yi Chun was not afraid of this kind of opponent. If Mo Yan was a little stronger, he could at least exchange a few moves with him. Of course, there were some differences. Comparing Mo Yan, Tua Baku, and Lin Yan together, Yi Chun still thought that Mo Yan would be more difficult to deal with. The latter two were indeed powerful enough, but Yi Chun did not need to spend any effort at all. As long as he increased his attacking power to a certain level, he would be able to hit them easily. When facing Mo Yan, Yi Chun did not choose to use his sky-shattering clouds, which was a head-on attack, because he knew that it would be very hard to hit Mo Yan. Therefore, he might as well use his fast sword poetic perspective, which was not as powerful. Facing different people, he would use different battle plans. This was Yi Chun's style. Obviously, attacking head-on would be the easiest. Excluding the top three, Xikong Sheng, Yan Qihua, Li Daoxian, and Murong Qingsheng would be the real tricky ones. It would be impossible for Yi Chun to win against them easily. He would have to use his own power to fight against them, since it would be impossible for him to control the whole situation. However, Yi Chun still had some ace up his sleeve, such as his 70% sword intent. This guy is a special one. Those who are not as powerful as him would basically be crushed within one attack. There is no doubt about it. The head judge finally opened his mouth. Hearing him, the other judges nodded. In their eyes, Yi Chun was indeed different. Normally, if a powerful warrior wanted to beat a warrior who was not that much weaker than him, it would not be a one-sided situation. It would take at least dozens of attacks to decide the winner. However, Yi Chun was able to ignore this rule. Those who were not as powerful as him would not even have the right to bother him. The battle has ended. Let's announce the next battle. The head judge said. A judge next to him stood up. Yi Chun wins. The 27th battle, the battle continued, and Yi Chun went back to the audience. Originally, after beating Mo Yan, he should be the center of attention. However, right now it was not him but Xikong Sheng and Lin Yan. More specifically, Xikong Sheng. So far, 8 of the top 10 seeded contestants had appeared, and the remaining 2 were indeed Xikong Sheng and Lin Yan. Xikong Sheng, the head disciple of the Floating Mountain Martial School, was 20 years old this year. He had participated in 3 Hidden Dragon rank competitions in total. The first time he participated in the competition, he was only 15 years old. It was a dark horse, and he had won the second place. What was even more frightening was that he had not even reached the Clasping Yuan realm back then. He had beaten a lot of young warriors who were at the Clasping Yuan realm with his late Condensing Reality realm cultivation. Since then, his name had spread across the whole South River region. In the second Hidden Dragon rank competition, he was only 18 years old. He had thought that there would be a fierce battle, but he had used his indisputable power to go through all the obstacles. He had beaten the top young warrior of the previous Hidden Dragon rank, the Fire Spirit Prince, Yan Qihua, the eldest prince of the Black Dragon Empire, and the Heartless Sword Artist, Li Daoxian, and the others. He had become the king warrior of the young generation in the whole South River region. His fame had spread across the whole South River region. This was the third Hidden Dragon rank competition he had participated in. No one knew his real power, but it was said that he had already reached the limit of the Clasping Yuan realm and was training his Zhenqi to prepare for the astral reaching realm. No matter what, Xikong Sheng's power was obvious to everyone. Everyone thought that he would still be the king of this year's Hidden Dragon rank, and no one would be able to shake his position. Although the head disciple of the Sky Fall Martial School, Lin Yan was not as bright as Xikong Sheng, and not as aggressive as Yan Qihua, he was still ranked 5th in the last Hidden Dragon rank. As the top martial genius of the South River region, who knew what kind of progress he would make in the next 3 years? Just like Murong Qingsheng 3 years ago, she was only ranked 27th at that time. But this year, she had suddenly become one of the top young warriors and was one of the most popular candidates for the top 5. Lin Yun, who was ranked even higher than Morong Qingsheng, would not be easy to deal with. The title of the top young warrior in the South River region was way too famous, and there would definitely be a lot of people staring at it. If Sikong Sheng wanted to keep his position, he would have to have enough power. Right now, his first challenge had come, and it was Lin Yun, who was not friendly at all. The battle between the two had attracted a lot of people's attention. The 31st battle, Sikong Sheng against Lin Yun. As the battles had ended one after another, the head judge had finally announced the winner of the 31st battle himself. Boom! Not only the warriors who were watching the battle, all of the young warriors had their eyes fixed on the battling platform without blinking. The sound of their heartbeats could even be heard. Sikong Sheng has finally shown up. Even if Lin Yun could not win, he would at least be able to force out most of his power. Someone said, indeed, if it were someone else, it would not be worth watching anymore. I wonder how far Lin Yun could push Sikong Sheng. Let's wait and see. After hearing his name, Lin Yun's aura exploded. His body flashed once, shooting out like a meteor onto the battling platform. His aggressive posture was shocking. Different from Lin Yun's arrogance, Sikong Sheng did not seem to care about Lin Yun at all. He put his right hand behind his back and walked right in front of Lin Yun with one step. The two top young warriors had officially confronted each other. Sikong Sheng, I thought our battle would last until the end. I did not expect it to be brought forward. This is good as well. It would save me the trouble of hiding my power. The clothes on Lin Yun's body started to vibrate as his chi power was ready to explode. A burning hot chi that was completely different from yin chi was spread out. Sikong Sheng put his right hand behind his back while his left hand was casually placed on the side. He said lightly, "You are not my opponent. If it were yin chi hua, I would be interested to have a try. I will let you know my real power." Lin Yun's eyes shone with a bright light, which contained the poetic perspective of a meteor falling from the sky. It attacked towards Sikong Sheng aggressively. At the same time, he roared as an iron spear appeared in his hand. The iron spear was covered in a dark red flame as he threw out a spear attack. Sky Fire Force Spear. As soon as the spear was thrown out, the dark red flame started to spin crazily, turning into countless fire patterns and shooting out. The burning temperature had even ignited the fire yuan qi in the air, adding to its power. Destroy. Sikong Sheng reached out his left hand. His 5 fingers opened as he grabbed towards the fire patterns in the air. Pooh! The fire patterns had been extinguished. Right then, Lin Yun's following 3 spear attacks had arrived. Each spear attack was more violent and faster than the previous one. A huge amount of fire yuan qi had turned into pure fuel, merging into the spear aura. It had turned a small half of the battling platform into a world of fire. Inside the world of fire, 3 meteor-like spear lights shot out. Interesting. Sky Pushing Palm. The Sky Pushing Palm was a top martial art of the Floating Mountain Martial School, but it was not the top martial art. It was only at the high-rank Earth Realm level. However, when Sikong Sheng performed it, the whole space had been cleared out instantly. The flames had been pushed back, unable to move any further. Meanwhile, those 3 meteor-like spear light had been shattered bit by bit under the vibration of the palm power. They then disappeared completely. The other leaders of the rank 6 martial institutions' pupils shrank. Sikong Sheng's martial art mastery had obviously reached perfection. The wonders of the Sky Pushing Palm had been fully displayed. Sky Fall Attack. His attack had been dissolved, so Lin Yun took a deep breath and poured all of his yun qi into his iron spear. He and the spear had become one, bringing with them an unstoppable aura as he attacked out. The young warriors who were close to him had been affected by the poetic perspective. They felt like they were in a world of chaos, and huge, flaming meteors had appeared in the sky. With his right hand still behind his back, Sikong Sheng's expression started to turn serious. His left palm turned into a fist, holding it tightly together as he threw out a punch. Sky Tyrant Fist. As he threw out this punch, the surrounding sky and earth seemed to have been merged into the fist aura. carrying the will of the sky as it attacked towards Lin Yun. The air in front of him twisted and turned blurry. The space vibrated, and the people under the stage could not even see where Lin Yun was. They could only see Sikong Sheng standing there quietly like a king on the stage. Boom! A crack appeared on the tough, battling platform. Lin Yun held the iron spear in his hand as he puked out a mouthful of blood and was blown back. His poetic perspective had been completely destroyed. Sky Tyrant Fist. This is the secret martial art created by the mysterious king. Combined with Sikong Sheng's status as a king warrior of the young generation, no one would be able to compete with him. Lin Yun was able to force Sikong Sheng to use his Sky Tyrant Fist. He did not lose too badly. He could only blame Sikong Sheng for being too powerful and being above the young generation. Chapter 272. Sikong Sheng, take another attack of mine. Blood Flame Break. Just when everyone thought that the battle had come to an end, Lin Yun, who was still flying backward, waved his right hand in the air. All of the blood that had spilled out gathered into a pile. Under the burning of the dark red flame, it made a cracking sound before turning into a bloody spear tip, shooting towards Sikong Sheng. Shoo! The blood-condensed spear tip was extremely fast. It was like a beam of bloody lightning, shooting out in front of Sikong Sheng within a second. Sikong Sheng looked a bit surprised as he threw out a punch onto the tip of the spear. Swoosh! The tip of the spear had been shattered. The blood-red flame expanded rapidly in the air, devouring Sikong Sheng completely. What? Lin Yun still has this kind of attack. There were a lot of clasping Yuan Realm warriors who were able to compete with or even kill rank 6 Tyrant Beasts. They could tell with one glance that Lin Yun's ace attack could kill any rank 6 Tyrant Beasts within a second. That blood-red flame was not a normal flame either. It was a special flame that had been infused with the power of blood, which was extremely sticky. Sikong Sheng's protective Jinqi layer had been melted by the blood-red flame. It was like a pile of snow in the winter or a block of ice in the early spring. Stumbling onto the platform, Lin Yun reached out his hand and wiped off the blood on the corner of his mouth. He chuckled and said, "This attack is a killing attack that I had specially modified for you. It is your honor to be defeated by this attack." Lin Yun, do you really think that you can beat me with this attack? You have overestimated yourself. Wrapped in the flame, Sikong Sheng's right hand, which had been behind his back, finally reached out. That hand was long and powerful, and there was nothing special about it. However, when the 5 fingers of that right hand opened up, the space around it started to shake drastically. It was like what he had opened up was not his fingers, but the whole sky. The burning blood-colored flame started to spin and shrink crazily with that hand as the center. It eventually shrunk into an egg-sized blood-colored fireball, landing on top of Sikong Sheng's palm. It was less than half an inch away from the center of his palm. Pooh! Sikong Sheng clenched his fist, and the fireball turned into a beam of blue smoke before disappearing. Raising his face, Sikong Sheng's eyes were like gods as he stared at Lin Yun and said, "The winner has been decided. Do you still want to fight?" You're good." A reluctant look flashed through Lin Yun's face. He had prepared for this attack for a long time, but it still could not do anything to Sikong Sheng. Although he still had other ace attacks, they were not as powerful as the Blood Fire Break. It would be a waste to expose his ace attack. Never mind, if I can't fight for the first place, then I will fight for the second place. The dragon-shaped shadow on Sikong Sheng's body was 24 meters long, but after devouring Lin Yun's dragon fountain chi, it had instantly reached 26 meters, which was getting closer and closer to 90 meters. Sikong Sheng's power is still overwhelming. Even Lin Yun could not pose any threat to him. I wonder who else in this rank would be able to fight against him for real. Yeah, if I can't see the pinnacle battles, it will be quite boring. Yin Shihua should be able to make him take it seriously. As for the undefeated Yi Chun, it's hard to say for now. Only when he becomes the #1 swordsman of the younger generation will he have the basic qualifications. Yi Chun might not be able to win against Li Daoxian, not to mention Sikong Sheng. 50% of his sword intent is still too weak after all. He might not be able to win against Li Daoxian, not to mention Sikong Sheng. Right now, it is still too early to talk about this. The 63rd round is about to end. Perhaps we will be able to see something in the 64th round. The battle between Si Kong-sheng and Lin Yun was not that intense. Everyone was still looking forward to the next round of battles. Soon, the 63rd round had ended. The 64th round did not start right away, as some of the wounded young warriors needed to recover their energy and injuries, especially the top young warriors. Right then, the power of the martial institutions had been revealed. Bing Ling, Li Daoxian, and Lin Yun had only been slightly wounded, but the pellets they had used were worth tens of thousands of mid-rank soul stones. Combined with the healing from the Sea of Souls realm warriors, they had all been healed within 2 hours. As for Mo Yin, he had only been wounded on the skin, so it would not be a big deal even if he did not need to be healed. After 2 hours, the 64th round had begun. In the first 6 battles, it was not the top young warrior's turn yet. In the 7th round, Li Daoxian was the first one to fight. His opponent was Mo Yin, who had lost to Yi Chun in the last round. Facing Li Daoxian, Mo Yin finally did not have to worry about anything anymore. Before, he had lost to Baku and Yi Chun, and most of the reasons were because he had been suppressed. Tua Baku's defense had made his sky demon eyes useless, and Yi Chun's ability to see through the weaknesses of his attacks had also made him lose. Although Li Daoxian was extremely powerful and was not weaker than Tua Baku and Yi Chun, as long as he was not suppressed, he would be able to perform his sky demon eyes as much as he wanted, attacking the weaknesses that he was good at. Mysterious Spirit 7 Finger. His body was like a ghost as Mo Yin walked around Li Daoxian. No one could see his body clearly. He held up his index and middle fingers together, continuously pointing at Mo Yin's weaknesses. Kill! 5 beams of sword light flashed through, and the finger light had been cut open one after another. Li Daoxian extended his body, and his sword intent spread out, locking onto Mo Yan's general location. He threw out a sword attack. The black chi flow was torn apart like a piece of cloth, and Mo Yan's body was exposed. He stepped back with both of his feet, shooting out 5 beams of finger light in a row, shattering that sharp sword chi. Kill! Once he performed his emotionless sword arts ace attack, the air had strangely calmed down. A light sword light that was as calm as water appeared faintly, pointing right at Mo Yan's vital parts. Mo Yan knew how horrifying this sword attack was. The dark red light in his pupils had been condensed to its extreme. He scanned through the air and found 3 unbalanced spots in the air. Without any hesitation, he shot out his finger light, landing on those 3 spots. Pooh! 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 The light veil was taken off, and the sword light was exposed, attacking over heavily. Shoo! The clothes on Mo Yan's shoulder had been cut open. Tiny drops of blood leaked out of his skin and rolled down. Sky kill. After successfully shattering or dodging Li Daoxian's first 2 sword attacks, Mo Yan's confidence had been boosted, and his aura had become even stronger. However, when Li Daoxian threw out the 3rd sword attack, Mo Yan frowned. This sword attack did not have any sword light at all, nor did it have any sword chi. There were only tiny patterns that spread out in all directions. It seemed like there was sword light everywhere, but there were also sword lights everywhere. How should I defend against it? Mo Yan had a question in his mind. Thoughts flashed through his mind at lightning speed. You lost. Right then, Li Daoxian's voice came from right next to his ears. At the same time, he could feel a bone-piercing sharpness. Mo Yan turned his head and saw a great sword that was shining with a cold light was less than an inch away from him. The invisible sharp light on the tip of the sword had cut off a few hairs on his body. What is going on? Could it be a fake attack? I can't tell either. Besides some slight vibrations in the air, there was no attack at all. I think it was just to confuse Mo Yan. Even Mo Yan's sky demon eyes could not see through it. Whether it was a fake attack or not, it was horrifying enough. Everyone could not tell what was going on, so they started to discuss. Yan Shihua, who had fought against Li Daoxian before, twitched his mouth but did not say anything. Li Daoxian had used this attack on him before. Hearing everyone's discussion, Yi Chun slightly shook his head. It was definitely not a fake attack. It was a real killing attack, and it was a killing attack that had 2 layers of attacks stacked on top of each other. One was fake while the other was real. One was in the light while the other was in the dark. When you were attracted by the attack in the light, the killing attack in the dark would come right after. When you ignored the attack in the light, then the seemingly fake attack would become a horrifying killing attack. This was a sword attack that was close to perfection. It had to be broken in all aspects, or else it would be unbreakable. Thinking about that, Yi Chun could not help but glance at Yin Qihua. Before, when the two were battling, Li Daoxuan's sword speed was extremely fast, and it was hard for him to see through it. After all, everyone had their own limit, and so did Yi Chun. If he could break all kinds of attacks, then it would be too crazy since he was not that powerful yet. Yin Qihua was facing Li Daoxuan's sky kill sword attack, and had broken it with one blade attack. His power was way more horrifying than anyone had imagined, which was completely different from his previous aggressive style. Being rough, but also careful, that was what a powerful blade artist should have. Yin Qihua was the #1 blade artist among the young generation in the whole South Shore region. He was definitely worthy of that title. Wei Renjia, who was known as the blade master of the young generation, was still 1 or 2 levels lower than him. Wu. After devouring Mo Yan's dragon, Fountain Qi, Li Daoxian had been beaten by Yin Qihua. His dragon shadow, which had shrunk to 23 meters, had grown again to 26 meters. Mo Yan, who had walked off the stage, looked a bit tired. Including Li Daoxian, he had already lost 3 times. The first 2 were against Tuo Baku and Yi Chun. Even if he only lost 2 more battles, he would not be able to get into the top 5 of the Hidden Dragon rank. He would not be able to beat Sikong Sheng for sure, and neither would Yin Qihua. Murong Qinsheng and Lin Yun were also extremely dangerous. He did not even have a 50% chance of winning. After 3 battles, the second pair of top young warriors got on the stage. I did not have enough fun in the Black Dragon Empire. This time I will try my best. Tuo Baku laughed out loud the second he got on the stage. His opponent was none other than Yi Chun. Yi Chun smiled. I would like to see your full power as well. Come on then. Ruin 18 fist art. In Tuo Baku's eyes, Yi Chun was the most powerful warrior among the young generation besides Sikong Sheng. He did not dare to hide his power at all. His 11th level of defensive martial art had been fully used. His Zhen Qi shot up in the sky as he threw out a punch towards Yi Chun crazily. It was obviously more powerful than when he was fighting against Mo Yan. Pouring 50% of his sword intent into the sky-shattering cloud's poetic perspective, Yi Chun's body turned into a blur as he flashed to the weakest part of the fist aura. He then held his sword with both his hands and threw out a sword attack with the power of thunder and lightning. It was his most powerful sword attack with 50% of his sword intent, which was also more powerful than before. Pooh! His protective Zhen Qi layer had been bitten into pieces by Tuo Baku's brutal dragon movement. Yi Chun tightened his left hand into a fist and punched out the dragon-shaped fist power a little bit. It had only brushed past his body. As for his sword attack, it had completely landed on Tuo Baku's body, shattering his protective Zhen Qi layer. His clothes had been torn apart, and a long white mark appeared on Tuo Baku's chest. He laughed and said, "Powerful enough. Too bad. It still could not break through my defense." Ruined dragon attack. This time, all of Tuo Baku's fist power had turned into dragon shapes. Countless dragon-shaped qi streams rushed towards Yi Chun like a group of dragons dancing in the air. Yi Chun, who was floating in the air, shook his body. A powerful, invisible, sharp light spread out, shaking the air and bringing up waves of pattern. 60% sword intent exploded. Chapter 273. What? 60% sword intent? Didn't he only learn 50% sword intent? How come it has become 60% sword intent now? Perhaps this is his ace card? Hiding the sword intent level seems to be very hard to do. How'd he do it? Perhaps it would be hard to see sword intent in other places, but in the competitions of the Hidden Dragon rank, there were already more than 20 young warriors who had learned the sword intent, which was more than any of the previous years. Among them, Li Daoxian was the most outstanding one, and he was currently at 60% sword intent. Tang Xiaoshan was at entry level, and Yi Chun was at 50% sword intent, which made him rank second. However, now that he had revealed his 60% sword intent, Yi Chen's understanding of the sword intent was not any weaker than Li Daoxian. Plus, Yi Chen's sword art was so powerful, which made him even more powerful. More importantly, could the sword intent level be hidden that easily? It was understandable that Yi Chen did not reveal his sword intent before, since most of the sword artists could do it. But to hide the sword intent from 50% to 50% was 10 times more difficult, because the sword intent was very mysterious and hard to distinguish. The so-called 40 to 50% was just a rough estimate. Normally, there were only 3 levels of the sword intent, which were divided into entry level, and completion. Dividing it into levels was completely out of necessity, since the sword intent was so hard to learn, and every little bit of improvement would be extremely valuable. After a long time, the sword artists who had learned the sword intent had thought of dividing the sword intent into levels. If hiding the 50% sword intent was 10 times more difficult, then hiding the 60% sword intent would be even more difficult. The more powerful the sword intent was, the harder it would be to hide. People who could easily hide the sword intent were definitely those sword artists who were very good at using the sword intent. They would be able to beat another sword artist with the same sword intent. Thinking up to here, everyone was shocked. Could it be that Yi Chen's mastery of the sword intent was even better than Li Daoxuan's? It is not possible. Li Daoxian had reached the 60% sword intent half a year ago. With his talent in the sword art, he would not lose to anyone in the way of using the sword intent. Everyone found it hard to believe. As soon as the 60% sword intent burst out, Yi Chen felt that his sword aura had increased crazily. For a sword artist, the sword intent wasn't just a one-sided amplification. It could increase the sword artist's attacking power, make up for the flaws in his sword art, and push his sword art to another level. Therefore, the sword intent wasn't just a matter of attacking power. It could also increase the sword artist's overall power to another level. Meanwhile, the improvement of the sword intent level would have a greater and greater effect on the comprehensive power. If the entry level of sword intent was a barrier, then every level after that would be a barrier. Therefore, Yi Chen with 50% sword intent and Yi Chen with 60% sword intent were not on the same level at all. They were on 2 completely different levels. Pu, the illusory sword light flashed, and the heads of the dragon-shaped energy streams were chopped off one after another, bursting into pieces. Amazing, he actually concealed a level of sword intent. Yi Chen's sword intent was too powerful. Tua Baku had just launched his attack when he realized that something was wrong. The sword intent that spread out from Yi Chen's body had made his hair stand on end. His fist aura had been blocked, as if it had been cut by countless invisible sharp blades. Savage tyrant body, Tua Baku yelled. That aggressive Zhen Qi had been hidden to the extreme, sticking to the surface of his skin like a thin layer of light film. It was dark blue in color. Pushing his defense to its limit, Tua Baku's eyes were wide open, shining brightly. He threw out an even more powerful punch towards Yi Chen. The dragon-shaped Qi showed its fangs and claws. Break! Yi Chen waved out a sword attack, and the whole space seemed to have been cracked open. The dragon-shaped Qi had been sliced apart and could not do anything. Then, the sword Qi was like lightning, landing on Tua Baku's body within a second. Chin! Burning sparks shot into the sky like fireworks. Tua Baku's feet were blown into the air by that sword attack that contained 60% sword intent. His whole body landed on the surface of the dark blue light wall. Right then, the sword Qi had still not disappeared completely, continuing to press on. No, my savage tyrant body will not be able to hold on for much longer. Tua Baku was shocked. The dark blue light layer on his chest had started to crack, which could not be repaired at all. It was the first time that he had felt what it meant to be unstoppable. All of the muscles in his body started to twist. A wild light suddenly flashed through Tuo Baku's eyes. His right arm that had expanded to twice its original size bent and pulled back, punching onto the sword chi. Crack! The sword chi had been shattered, and Tuo Baku's right fist was covered in blood. Dragon Whirl! The blood had been shattered by his fist power. Tuo Baku's left hand hit on the light wall, and with a huge pushing force, he shot out a horrifying dragon-shaped chi. The dragon-shaped chi roared into the sky, its massive head seeming to be able to devour a small house. The air around, it was like a flood of water under the huge pressure, bringing up huge waves, allowing the dragon-shaped chi to travel around freely. The sharp intent had all gathered and merged into the Star-Scar sword. Yichin stepped on the air, his body flashing. The next second, a long and sharp sword light flashed through the belly of that dragon-shaped chi, cutting in half. Tuo Baku, who was behind it, had been blown away with his hands crossed in front of his chest. He did not follow up with another attack. Yichin was still in the air, putting his long sword back into its scabbard. He lightly landed on the platform, his blue robe dancing in the wind. Bang! Tuo Baku had also landed, but he had been cut into the ground. The platform under his feet was full of cracks, looking like spider webs. Even my most powerful ace attack could not do anything to you. I have lost. Wiping away the blood on the corner of his mouth, Tuo Baku chuckled, but he did not look like he was going to die. Yichin said, with only 60% sword intent, it would be hard for me to kill you. Tuo Baku's defense was unimaginable. Normal top-rank Earth-realm defense martial arts would not have this kind of effect. This was at least one of the top-rank Earth-realm defense martial arts. Besides that, Tuo Baku's body was extremely compatible with this martial art. His 11th realm defense would not be any weaker than other people's 12th realm. Compared to my defense, my attacking power is indeed a bit weak. Tuo Baku knew his weakness, which was why he had decided to give up. Otherwise, it would not be as simple as a light wound. Awoo! The dragon-shaped shadow jumped out, devouring Tuo Baku's dragon fountain chi. Soon, Yichin's dragon-shaped shadow had reached beyond 80 meters, reaching 81 meters. It was right behind Sikong Sheng and Yin Chihua, ranking third. This battle is not going to be easy. The leader of the Heartless Martial School frowned. Yichin's 60% sword intent had appeared out of nowhere, which had made him lose confidence in Li Daoxian. Although there seemed to be a 10% difference between 50% sword intent and 60% sword intent, the gap was extremely obvious. Right now, Yichin's understanding of the sword intent was the same as Li Daoxuan's. So, what they were going to compete on was their cultivation of sword arts. A core master of the Heartless Martial School said, "Leader, don't worry. Daoxuan's Heartless Sword Arts and the Heartless Sword intent complement each other, which is way more powerful than a simple 60% sword intent." The leader of the Heartless Martial School nodded. Without this advantage, Daoxuan's chance of winning would not be more than 30%. Right now, he only has 50% chance of winning. 60% sword intent is indeed unexpected. I thought he would stop at the 5th or 6th place. It seems like he could still go up 1 or 2 places. Yin Chihua's eyebrows flicked, an interested look appearing in his eyes. Lin Yun, who was not far away, sneered. Right now, he thought only Yin Chihua could compete with him for the 2nd place. However, Yi Chun, who had revealed his 60% sword intent, had already made him feel the pressure. After battling with Sikong Sheng, he had revealed his biggest ace attack, and the others had more or less hidden ace attacks, so he had to be careful. Damn it! When these two were battling with me, they did not even use their full power. Mo Yin had suffered a huge blow, his fist tightened. Right then, the audience had already started to discuss. It is indeed Yi Chun who has the upper hand after all. Even Tuo Baku had lost him. Among the top 10 new stars, Yi Chun definitely deserves to be the number 1. Although Tuo Baku is powerful, he had still lost to Yi Chun and could only be ranked number 2. Right now, Yi Chun had beaten 3 top young warriors, Bing Ling, Mo Yin, and Tuo Baku. Without any surprises, Gu Yuyun would not be able to compete with him as well. Besides these four, his next opponents would be Xikong Sheng, Yin Shihua, Li Daoxian, Lin Yun, and Murong Qingsheng. I wonder if he could continue to win all the battles. Yi Chen's dark horse status had shocked a lot of people. Since the beginning of the elimination competitions, he had not lost a single battle. No one knew how much power he had hidden or how many ace attacks he had. All they knew was that each time he encountered a powerful opponent, he would reveal a bit of his real power, which was undoubtedly horrifying. The next battle would be Yin Shihua against Gu Yuyun. Gu Yuyun, who had the Stone King body protective fist art, was very powerful. Unfortunately, she was facing the #1 blade artist, Yin Shihua. Yin Shihua's blade aura was extremely aggressive. With only 2 blade attacks, he had broken through his opponent's protective Jinqi layer. That overwhelming advantage had made a lot of people frown. Among the young generation, perhaps only Xikong Sheng had the power to beat him. Whether or not Lin Yun could compete with him was still unknown. The 27th battle, Xikong Sheng against Bing Ling. The battle continued quickly, and Xikong Sheng got on the stage again. Bing Ling bit on her teeth. It was not her style to give up without a battle. Without any hesitation, she pushed all of her Jinqi and gathered it on her right arm, performing one of the ace attacks of the Ice Break Fist art, Ice Crystal Fist. Xikong Sheng stood where he was without moving, waiting for Bing Ling's attack. Boom! The Ice Crystal Fist had been prepared. Bing Ling's speed had been pushed to its limit as she threw out a punch. Forming a fist with his left hand, Xikong Sheng threw out a punch as well. The sky was filled with ice shards. Under Xikong Sheng's Sky Tyrant fist art, the Ice Crystal Fist had been shattered. The closer the dragon-shaped shadow got to 90 meters, the slower it grew. After devouring Bing Ling's Dragon Fountain Chi, it had only made Xikong Sheng's dragon-shaped shadow grow to 24 meters, only 3 feet away from 90 meters. The 28th battle, Lin Yun against Murong Qingsheng. Although there had been 9 battles between the top young warriors, there were only 3 that could be considered as the most important ones. One was Yin Shihua against Li Daoxian, one was Xikong Sheng against Lin Yun, and the last one would be the battle right in front of them, Murong Qingsheng against Lin Yun. Murong Qingsheng was just like Yi Chen. She had not been defeated yet. The Sky Demon Great Art that she had trained had made most of the people feel helpless. Her defense was the shapeless Sky Demon Power Field, which was her territory. Her attacking methods were the Sky Demon Power Field and the Sky Demon Palm Print. With the combination of the two, even someone as powerful as Bing Ling would not be able to get close to her and could only be attacked. And Lin Yun's power was not to be underestimated either. When he was battling with Xikong Sheng, he had revealed his ace attack, which could kill any rank 6 tyrant beasts within a second. His power was definitely horrifying, and he had the power to compete for the top 3. In everyone's mind, his power was even more powerful than Murong Qingsheng. The battle between the two had attracted a lot of attention. Chapter 274. Yi Chen had calculated countless times in his mind, and eventually had to shake his head. Between Murong Qingsheng and Lin Yun, both of them would have a chance to win. However, it was hard to predict who would win. It was not because the two were equally powerful, but the biggest problem was Murong Qingsheng's Sky Demon Great Art. As everyone knew, the Sky-Flying Devil Martial School Sky Devil Great Art was a very powerful and strange martial art. It didn't have any protective Jinqi, and its defensive method was the Sky Devil Power Field. The Sky Devil Power Field was invisible and intangible, and it needed to be driven by the Sky Devil Jinqi. Once the Sky Devil Power Field protected the body, it would be very difficult to break through it, which made it difficult for normal attacks to work, and the opponent often couldn't get close to it. If it were another opponent, Murong Qingsheng would have a very high chance of winning. However, her opponent, Lin Yun, was just as powerful as her. His powerful attacking power could kill any rank 6 tyrant beast within a second, which had been proven during the battle with Xikong Sheng. Therefore, even with Yi Chen's extremely sharp eyes, he could not tell who would have a higher chance of winning. He would only know after a battle. On the battling platform, Murong Qingsheng, who was wearing purple robes, arrived in the air. Standing in front of her was Lin Yun, who was holding a black iron spear with burning chi. Lin Yun grinned and said, "Qing Cheng, it has been 3 years since we last fought. Your power has indeed surprised me. In my opinion, you definitely have the power to be ranked 5th or even 4th. However, if you want to be in the top 3, you are still 1 level away." Lin Yun's meaning was very clear. Although he had lost to Sikong Sheng, but besides Sikong Sheng, only Yin Qihua could threaten him. And Murong Qingqing's power was probably below the top 3. Within the top 5, she would not be able to win against him. He just did not want to say it out loud. Murong Qingqing said lightly, "Oh yeah? Why do I feel like I can win against you?" Asking you to give up is indeed too much. How about this? Within 10 attacks, if you can get the upper hand, I will give up automatically. Lin Yun forced a laugh. He did not know if Murong Qingsheng did not understand him, or if she was just irritated. 10 moves, fine. Murong Qingsheng did not speak anymore. Instead, she secretly activated her heavenly devil innate chi, forming a circle of heavenly devil force field in an area of 30 feet around her. Heavenly Fire 4 Spears. Without using his ace attacks, Lin Yun had only used normal ace attacks to fight against Murong Qingsheng. No matter whether he wanted to admit it or not, he did not think that Murong Qingsheng would be able to win against him. Dark red flames erupted, and the air boiled like water. Immediately after, a spiral of flames spread out and rushed towards Murong Qingsheng, who was dozens of meters away. Pop! The space around Murong Qingsheng shook for a moment, and the airflow surged. Heavenly Devil Palm, annihilate. Stretching out her 5 fingers, Murong Qingsheng sent out a palm print. Buzz! The flame pattern had been broken down, and Lin Yun's spear aura had been blocked. His speed had been reduced instantly. He did not panic at all as he stepped on the ground and cut into the incoming palm attack in a tricky and aggressive way. He continued to perform his Heavenly Fire 4 Spears ace attack, which was even more aggressive than before. However, his iron spear had lost control after the 3rd attack. Murong Qingsheng, who was not far away, made a grabbing gesture with her right hand, drawing his spear aura to the side and throwing a palm attack back at him. Lin Yun did not dare to underestimate Murong Qingqing's palm power. His body shook once, and a flame shield appeared in front of him. The shield was thick and full of patterns. Sparks kept splashing out, and it looked like it was made of gold and stone. It was extremely heavy. Boom! The palm power that contained the Heavenly Devil Power field had been blocked out by the flame shield, and Lin Yun was not injured at all. Heavenly Devil Palm Attack, Sky Blame. Murong Qingsheng did not stop attacking as she threw out 4 palm attacks. The last one was the ace attack of the Heavenly Devil Palm Attack, Sky Blame. This attack was based on the reverse Heavenly Devil Power field, creating a powerful repelling power that would blow away the locked objects in the space. Break! Lin Yun yelled as the flame around his body shot up into the sky. He waved his iron spear horizontally, battling against that powerful repelling power that was everywhere. He did not back out even 1 step. Lin Yun is indeed powerful. He could even fight against Murong Qingqing's power field. Murong Qingqing's martial art realm is 1 level lower, so it would be hard for her to perform the full power of the Sky Demon Great Art. Otherwise, Lin Yun would not be able to win this easily. The two were both testing each other. However, in everyone's eyes, Murong Qingsheng had obviously fallen into a disadvantage. Even her Sky Demon Palm attack, which had always been successful, could not do anything to Lin Yun. Double Sky Blame. Murong Qingsheng put her left hand on the back of her right hand. The repelling power had been doubled, and it had landed on Lin Yun's body within a second. Finally, it had blown him dozens of meters away, leaving a dark red trail in the air. Lin Yun was still in the air. He did not wait to land on the ground before he shot back like a flying dragon. He threw out a spear attack towards Murong Qingsheng. It was indeed one of his ace attacks, the Sky Fall attack. Once the spear attack had been thrown out, the sky and the ground had been shaken. Even the air around Murong Qingsheng had been dyed dark red, as if the sky had been burnt red. The Sky Demon power field could not block out the burning heat. Murong Qingqing's body disappeared and reappeared in the sky within a second. She performed the Sky Demon catch with her left hand while attacking with the Sky Demon palm attack with her right hand. One positive and one negative, the other negative had combined together. It had somehow dissolved Lin Yun's deadly attack. Sky Demon Strangle. It was not over yet. She twisted her left hand as the Sky Demon power field twisted, shattering the protective Jinqi layer outside of Lin Yun's body completely. 6 attacks had passed. Although Murong Qingqing had not gotten the upper hand, Lin Yun had not gotten the upper hand either. He could not help but look bad. He could not care less about the idea of holding back. He stomped on the ground, bringing up a fire wave. His body shot up into the sky, stabbing towards Murong Qingqing with his spear attack. It was still the Sky Fall attack. This time, the Sky Fall attack was extremely aggressive. The air had been pierced through by the spear attack, creating a black vacuum tunnel that extended all the way to Murong Qingqing's Sky Demon power field. The Sky Demon power field was disrupted for a while, which had backfired on the Jinqi inside Murong Qingqing's body. She put her tongue on top of her chin, trying to control her boiling qi and blood. She threw out a palm attack to block that incoming spear light. Boom! Thunder exploded. Murong Qingqing backed out a couple of steps. Lin Yun did not take the opportunity to attack. His opponent's extremely powerful palm attack had also made him lose control of his body. His body froze on the spot. Do you still want to keep fighting? Lin Yun held the spear with his right hand. The body of the spear was covered in a dark red flame, slowly accumulating at the tip. Landing on the ground, Murong Qingqing put on the low-rank great weapon, the gold silk gloves. She said lightly, "Right now, it has only been 7 attacks. It seems like you have not gotten the upper hand yet. Since that is the case, then I will defeat you within 3 attacks." As he spoke, the Jinqi that Lin Yun had poured into the iron spear suddenly increased. A walnut-sized fireball accumulated at the tip of the spear. The fireball kept spinning, its color getting darker and darker. Dark flame kill. When Lin Yun got serious, he was undoubtedly extremely horrifying. Once he had activated his 11th level martial art, flames shot out of his body, attacking towards Murong Qingqing like a human-shaped meteor. That iron spear that had accumulated the fireball had already been stabbed out 1 step ahead of him, its aura extremely aggressive. Murong Qingqing performed her Sky Demon catch and Sky Demon Great Palm print again. With the amplification of the gold silk gloves, her power field had been increased by more than 10%, blocking out Lin Yun's spear aura. Pop! The power field had been broken, and Lin Yun's spear aura had been slightly weakened. However, as Lin Yun poured in more Jinqi, a 12-meter-long spear light shot out, hitting onto Murong Qingqing's Sky Demon power field. The 9th attack. Lose! Lin Yun yelled, his iron spear cutting through the air like a hot knife through butter. Murong Qingqing's expression did not change. Suddenly, she did something shocking. Her left hand's 5 fingers were bent, trying to grab onto Lin Yun's iron spear. Her right hand was hidden behind her back. Invisible sharp blades kept shooting out from her fingertips, hitting onto the surface of the platform and making a swishing sound. Boom! The fireball on the iron spear exploded. The fire wave that reached into the sky covered both of them, creating a 30-meter-tall fire pillar. Lin Yun sneered. He knew the power of the fireball, which was a killing attack that was condensed with 20% of his Jinqi. Once it exploded, even people who were more powerful than him would be badly wounded, not to mention Murong Qingqing, who was slightly weaker than him. If there were no accidents, she would have been wounded already. However, what happened next had shocked him. Inside the fire pillar, Murong Qingqing's left hand was not damaged at all. In between her palm, there was a cluster of light black light moving. He was very familiar with that light. It was obviously the extremely condensed Sky Demon power field. The scattered Sky Demon power field was already very powerful, and it was unimaginable how powerful it would be when it was condensed. It was because of the condensed Sky Demon power field that Murong Qingqing was able to take on Lin Yun's ace attack without any damage. Otherwise, even with the protection of the gold silk gloves, her arm would have been broken by the explosive power. Right then, Lin Yun could not care about anything else. He knew that Murong Qingsheng would definitely have a follow-up ace attack. If he did not make the first move, he would most likely lose. The center of his left palm was cracked open, and a stream of blood shot out, being wrapped up by the dark red flame. Lin Yun backed out quickly, throwing out his ace attack that he had used on Sikong Sheng. Shoo! The blood turned into a bloody spear tip, shooting out at an unimaginable speed. Break! Murong Qingsheng waved her left hand, and the condensed sky demon power field landed on the tip of the bloody spear. She did not wait for the bloody flame to burn, and her whole body shot out into the air. The right hand that was hidden behind her back reached out horizontally. She opened her 5 fingers, and a new sky demon power field was born, condensing into an invisible blade shape, attacking towards Lin Yun, who was backing out. Power field cut. The fire shield had been broken, and Lin Yun could only watch his protective Jinqi layer being cut open. The sky demon power field that contained both positive and negative power had landed on his body. Wah! Puking out a mouthful of blood, Lin Yun flipped a couple of times in the air before landing heavily on the light wall. Right then, the blood fire break had just exploded behind Murong Qingsheng. The bloody flame burned the air, expanding rapidly in the wind. At the last moment, Murong Qingsheng had turned the tables. Over at the audience seating, everyone could not believe their eyes. Lin Yun had lost to Murong Qingsheng, who had just risen up in this year's Hidden Dragon rank, and he had lost under the condition that he had performed his ace attack. There was no mercy at all, which had really shocked them. Power field cut. I did not expect Qingqing's martial arts to have reached this level. The leader of the Sky Demon Martial School was in a great mood. The head disciple Mo Yin had already lost the chance to compete for the top 5, and the only hope was on Murong Qingsheng. She had not disappointed him at all. Chapter 275. Arrogant piece of trash. Yin Qihua sneered. Even he did not dare to underestimate Murong Qingqing's power, so he had to treat it seriously. Otherwise, it would be possible for him to fail miserably. And the reason why Lin Yun had lost to Murong Qingsheng was because he had underestimated Murong Qingqing's power. He did not take the battle seriously, and at the critical moment, it would be too hard to turn the tables. One wrong move, and everything would be wrong. If Lin Yun did not limit himself with 10 attacks and put all of his focus into the battle, the result would still be unknown. Therefore, he had lost himself. The leader of the Sky Fall Martial School looked extremely pale. Lin Yun's failure was completely out of his expectation. He had already thought about it before the battle. With Lin Yun's power, even if he could not get the first place, he would definitely be able to get the second or third place. Among all of them, only Sikong Sheng and Yin Qihua would be his opponents. Leader, there is still a chance of the third place. There is no need to get so angry. The headmaster of the Sky Fall Martial School let out a breath and tried to persuade him. I know. This battle will be a lesson for him. Do not underestimate the others. The ranking system of the Hidden Dragon rank was based on the point system, and it was quite common for people to have the same points. Therefore, Lin Yun still had the chance to get the third place, and maybe the second place as well. However, the chance was very low, since Yin Qihua's power was right there. Besides Sikong Sheng, no one would be able to beat him. Crawling up from the stage, Lin Yun puked out another mouthful of blood. It was not caused by his wounds, but by his anger. He had never thought that he would be defeated by Murong Qingsheng one day. Thinking about what he had said to her before the battle, he could not think straight. He felt both humiliated and embarrassed. After devouring Lin Yun's dragon fountain Qi, the dragon-shaped shadow on Murong Qingqing's body had expanded to 23 meters, which was only below Sikong Sheng, Yin Qihua, and Yi Chun, ranking 4th. Without saying anything to hurt his opponent, Murong Qingsheng walked down the stage directly. The 64th round had ended, and the 2-hour break began. Inside the training room, the leader of the Sky Fall Martial School said, while healing Lin Yun, "You were too careless this battle. In the following battles, besides Yin Qihua, I want you to win all of them. Leader, don't worry. If I have the chance to run into Murong Qingsheng again, I will not be careless anymore. Lin Yun tightened his fists, blue veins popping out on his forehead. 2 hours later, the 65th round began. The first battle, Sikong Sheng against Gu Yuyun. Sikong Sheng and Gu Yuyun were not only disciples of the Floating Mountain Martial School, but they also had the king-level bloodline. One was the descendant of the Tsang King, while the other was the descendant of the Stone King. Unfortunately, the power gap between the two was way too huge. Otherwise, it would have been a crazy battle of king-level bloodline. Sister disciple, you go first. Sikong Sheng reached out his left hand. Gu Yuyun nodded. She naturally knew about her head disciple's power, and it was definitely not something that she could handle. However, in the last 9 rounds of the Hidden Dragon rank competitions, no one had ever given up on their own. She did not want to break that rule. Plus, there were not many chances for her to exchange attacks with her head disciple. He would not be able to beat her with only one attack. He would at least show some respect to his fellow disciples. In front of Sikong Sheng, it would be a joke to talk about defense. Gu Yuyun rarely took the initiative to attack, and each of her attacks was extremely powerful. Sikong Sheng kept his right hand behind his back, using only one hand to receive the attacks. He did not plan to beat his sister disciple right away, so he only used a small amount of power. After 30 attacks, Gu Yuyun stopped her attack and stood still. Head disciple, thank you for teaching me. You have made great progress. I think you will be able to get into the top 3 in the next Hidden Dragon rank competitions. This year's Hidden Dragon rank competitions would be the most popular one. After this one, besides him, Yi Chun and Tuo Baku, the others would all be over 24 years old. Plus, once he reached the astral reaching realm, the Hidden Dragon rank would only be an empty title, and he would not need to participate anymore. The Dragon Fountain Chi would not be able to increase anymore, so he might as well give it to the disciples of the Floating Mountain Martial School and let them fight for the endless luck for the school. The 7th battle, Bing Ling against Lin Yun. Losing to Murong Qingsheng, Lin Yun looked even darker. Combined with the burning hot chi on his body, his whole body looked like a beast hiding in the fire. Kill! Once the battle started, Lin Yun threw out his most powerful attacks towards Bing Ling's Sky, Fire 4 Spears, Skyfall attack, and other ace attacks were performed continuously. The sky-covering flame almost lit up the entire battling platform. The flame shot up into the sky, spreading out in all directions. If it were someone else, they would have already lost under Lin Yun's crazy attacks. The good thing was that Bing Ling had trained the ice element Jin Qi, which could suppress the fire element Jin Qi under the same conditions. Although Lin Yun's martial arts were 1 level higher than hers, it would still be impossible for him to beat her easily. Looking from below the stage, the vast battling platform was covered in flames. In the center, there was a pile of ice and snow, which was protecting Bing Ling's body. Ice Crystal Fist. After taking a couple of heavy attacks from Lin Yun, Bing Ling used her most powerful ace attack. Her right forearm and fist were wrapped in ice crystals, attacking towards Lin Yun at 2 times the speed of sound. Dark Flame Kill. Lin Yun did not back out at all. A walnut-sized fireball had been accumulated on his iron spear, attacking towards Bing Ling's ace attack in a brutal manner. Boom! A burning mushroom cloud of flame rose up between the two, with ice shards splashing everywhere. The next second, blood leaked out from the corner of Bing Ling's mouth. She had lost to Lin Yun's ace attack. The 14th battle, Mo Yin against Murong Qingsheng. After Sikong Sheng and Gu Yuyun's match, another pair of disciples from the same martial school had appeared. Mo Yin had lost to Tuo Baku, Yi Chun, and Li Daoxin one after another, which had made his popularity drop again and again. He was now out of the top 8. At the same time, he was feeling the same pressure as Lin Yun very bad. His handsome face looked a lot more hideous now. However, Murong Qingsheng and Mo Yin were completely different. She was one of the top 2 beauties of the Black Dragon Empire, one of the top 2 warriors of the young generation in the South River region. Even though she had lost the battle, her popularity was still the same. Plus, she had won 2 battles so far, and she had even beaten Lin Yun in the second battle. It had made her popularity even higher than Yi Chun. Different experiences had created different mentality. Facing Murong Qingchang again, Mo Yin had a very complicated expression on his face. Even he himself could not tell what was on his mind. Murong Qingchang said, "Head disciple, do your best." "All right, I will not go easy on you." Her calling him head disciple was very irritating to him, and her tone was not that good either. Murong Qingchang shook her head in her mind and did not say anything else. Activating his sky demon eyes, a dark red light shot out of Mo Yan's pupils. It was like a diamond, extremely condensed. He groaned with a low voice as both of his hands threw out a couple of attacks, performing his normal ace attack, the sky hand attack. This attack had a huge coverage, which was the best one to confuse people. Shoo! Palm shadows filled the air. Mo Yan's body flashed once before appearing on the right side of Murong Qingchang. He pointed his finger at the weak spot of the sky demon power field. Murong Qingchang and Mo Yin knew each other very well, so she would naturally not be confused by the sky hand attack. She waved her right hand in the air, and the sky demon power field spread out along her palm, deviating Mo Yan's finger light. Mysterious Spirit, 7-finger. His body jumped up from the ground as Mo Yin performed his ace attack again. Sky Demon Palm Attack, Destruction, Sky Rebuke. Murong Qingchang did not dare to waste any time. She performed the 2 ace attacks of the Sky Demon Palm Attack with both of her hands, one to break the attack and the other to attack. Moving like a ghost, Mo Yin avoided Murong Qingchang's Sky Demon Palm Attack. Within a second, he threw out a dark purple finger light. That finger light was like lightning, shooting through Murong Qingchang's Sky Demon Power Field, aiming for the vital spot on her waist, which was impossible to defend against. Sky Demon Protective Strangulation. In that critical moment, Murong Qingchang used her body as the axis and spun in the air for 2 rounds. The Sky Demon Power Field outside her body twisted instantly, making that finger light fly past her body without hurting her at all. As she spun, Murong Qingchang did not stop attacking. She used the Sky Demon Catch with her left hand and the Sky Demon Palm Attack with her right hand. Both attacks were thrown out together, forcing Mo Yin to temporarily dodge and lose the chance to gain the upper hand. Demon Spirit Killing Finger. His feet lightly touched the surface of the platform as Mo Yin performed his ace attack. This finger attack had broken through Tuo Baku's defense, and its attacking power was no weaker than Li Daoxuan's. Unfortunately, the previous 3 opponents had made him suffer a lot. Tuo Baku's defense was too high, and Yi Chun was able to see through all of his attacks. Li Daoxuan's sword attacks were unpredictable, and it would already be great if he could defend against them, not to mention attacking. Right then, he had used it on Murong Qingchang instead. Murong Qingchang, of course, would not dare to underestimate Mo Yin. In fact, she suspected that this year's Hidden Dragon rank competition might be Mo Yan's nemesis, since all of the opponents he had run into were not good for him. Otherwise, there might be a chance for him to make it into the top 5. But on the other hand, adapting to the environment and laughing until the end was the basic quality of a powerful warrior. Mo Yan's failure had proven that he did not have that quality yet. Pooh! Facing that finger attack, Murong Qingchang had to perform her Sky Demon Power Field technique to break through that finger light. She then waved her right hand, and a simple power field cut was shot out, cutting open Mo Yan's protective Jinqi layer and leaving a wound on his shoulder. This attack was Murong Qingchang holding back. However, Mo Yan did not care at all and continued to attack. The Demon Spirit Killing Finger attacked towards Murong Qingchang's vital spot. Murong Qingchang frowned. Her body disappeared as she threw back 2 power field cuts. At the same time, she performed her Sky Demon Catch and caught Mo Yin, who was still trying to escape. They knew each other very well, so how could Murong Qingchang not know where he was going to escape to? Mo Yin did not look too good, but he did not attack again. The 21st battle, Yi Chun against Li Daoxian. It seemed like the head judge cared a lot about this battle. He stood up for the second time and announced the names of the 2 in person, his voice dragging out. Boom! The audience was shocked. They had waited so long for the battle between the top sword artists of the young generation. Without exaggerating, the battle between the two would basically decide who would be the #1 sword artist in the whole South River region. Would it be Li Daoxian or Yi Chun? Li Daoxian was the head disciple of the heartless martial school with 60% sword intent. He had lost to the #1 blade artist Yan Qihua by half an attack. His power was obvious, and no one dared to underestimate him. Yi Chun was the new top young warrior, the leader of the top 10 new stars. He also had 60% sword intent. Added with his extremely powerful sword art and horrifying ability to see through weaknesses, he was highly respected. He was so popular that he was ranked in the top 4 of the top young warriors. The battle between the two top sword artists would be very exciting without even thinking about it. After all, sword artists were different from warriors. Their attacks were famous for their fast and accurate attacks. Even a little bit of carelessness could cause one to lose. There would not be a situation where the battle would last for a long time. Chapter 276. On the vast battling platform, 2 human figures were standing hundreds of meters away from each other. On the left side of the battling platform, Li Daoxian was wearing a blue robe with a long and narrow great sword hanging from his waist. The sword scabbard was simple and ancient, with a few patterns on it. On the right side, Yi Chun was standing straight, wearing a blue robe as well. He also had a great sword hanging from his waist. The scabbard was carved with star patterns, its color clear and deep. Since you have the 60% sword intent, then I do not have to worry about the unfair advantage. The level of the sword intent had nothing to do with the unfair advantage. If it were a normal sword artist, Li Daoxian would never tell him that if he did not have the sword intent, then he would not use the sword intent either. It would be very stupid. However, Yi Chun was different. Yi Chun's sword art realm was extremely high, and almost no one could compete with him in the young generation. Li Daoxian did not want to win the competition with his sword intent that was 10% higher than his opponents, because he wanted to compete with Yi Chun's sword art realm. Right now, Yi Chun had also mastered the 60% sword intent. Therefore, the two were basically on the same level, and the competition would be the sword art realm. Yi Chun said, "That would be for the best. I also want to know how powerful my sword art realm is." Up until now, Yi Chun had not revealed all of his achievements in his sword art yet. It was either because his opponents were too weak and could not use it, or his opponents were different like Tuabaku. Therefore, if he did not find an equally powerful opponent, even Yi Chun himself would not be able to figure out his own sword art realm. Putting his right hand on the sword hilt, Li Daoxian stopped talking. His sharp eyes locked onto Yi Chun. Compared to the aggressive Yan Qihua, Yi Chun had given him more pressure. It was not that Yan Qihua was not as powerful as Yi Chun. In fact, even he could not see through Yan Qihua's power. However, Yan Qihua was a blade artist, which was different from a sword artist after all. However, Yi Chun was a sword artist who had mastered the 60% sword intent. This year's Hidden Dragon rank competitions only needed one #1 sword artist. Kill. Flashing his body, Li Daoxian had shortened the distance between him and Yi Chun to only 10 meters. His sword had been taken out of its scabbard. A cold beam of light with a shocking sword intent was thrown out. The air was like water, without any ripples. There was only one person and one sword left in the world. Yan Qihua, who was watching the battle, squeezed his eyes. This Yi Chun is indeed powerful. Facing him, Li Daoxian's sword art realm had improved even further. His spirit, qi, and soul were condensed, showing signs of merging into one. Yi Chun's expression did not change. His right hand grabbed onto the hilt of his star scar sword, which looked slow but was actually fast. He gently pulled it out. The dark-colored sword light was like a poisonous snake coming out of its cave, accurately pointing at the tip of Li Daoxian's sword. The emotionless poetic perspective seemed to have no effect on him at all. Chin. The sword tips, which were filled with Jin Qi, clashed together. Sparks flew everywhere, looking extremely bright. Why do I feel a bit numb? On the audience seating, a clasping Yuan realm warrior had goosebumps all over his body as he said with a shaky voice, "Me too." I heard that the battles between powerful sword artists would make the audience shiver. Today, I can see that it is indeed the case. There is a huge difference between sword artists and blade artists. Blade artists need to be bold and powerful, and their blade aura would make people's blood boil. However, sword artists are the exact opposite. They try their best to beat their opponents with the smallest cost. They're good at killing with one attack, which is the sublimation of their techniques. Therefore, they will leave a terrifying impression on people. It was an astral reaching realm sword artist who was talking. While the audience was chatting, the battle on the battling platform had already reached its climax. Ding, ding, ding. The sword lights spread out, clashing with each other sharply. Kill. Dozens of sword attacks have been blocked by Yi Chun in a row. Li Daoxian took 3 steps back. During the process, he shook his wrist, and a sword light that could cut through metal appeared on his longsword. The sword light seemed to be invisible, as if it could ignore the distance between them. It pointed right at Yi Chun, who was not far away. Pop! The sword light was shattered. It was shattered by an invisible sword light. After shattering the sword light, Yi Chun extended his body, his blue robe dancing in the air. He threw out a sword attack. The shocking sword speed made the sword light not have enough time to flash. Together with it, there was also that sword art poetic perspective that could confuse people's senses. 60% sword intent, lone peak kill. I cannot block it out. Li Daoxian was shocked. He closed his eyes and pushed his flying art to its limit, shooting out violently. No one knew why he had backed out so fast, because they could not feel the poetic perspective of the lone peak kill. Shoo! A stream of blood splashed out along the tip of the sword. Yi Chun stopped his steps. Indeed, the lone peak kill with 60% sword intent is still a bit too powerful. It would not work on other sword artists at the same level. Yi Chun looked at Li Daoxian, who was 10 meters away. Li Daoxian had escaped from the poetic perspective and stopped immediately. However, there was a light sword mark on his face. This is the sword art that you had performed before. Li Daoxian's confusion had been solved. During the knockout competitions and the ranking competitions, Yi Chun would occasionally perform the poetic perspective of a lone peak kill. He had been wondering what kind of poetic perspective it was, but now he finally understood. Yi Chun did not answer, but asked instead, "The battle between you and Yin Chihua was very interesting. Why don't you use all of your ace attacks on him?" The lone peak kill had been exposed and dodged by his opponent, but Yi Chun was not worried at all. The power of the movement did not lie in the movement itself, but in the person using it. The same movement would have different effects in different hands. That sword attack before was just a test, to test Li Daoxian's bottom line. Next time, the lone peak kill would be used at the most appropriate time. Sky kill. Needless to say, Li Daoxian naturally knew what to do. He performed the sword movement that had beaten Mo Yin with only one sword attack. The sword light was hidden inside, spreading out everywhere. His whole body stepped on sharp steps, as if he had turned into a sharp sword, shooting towards Yi Chun. Break! Yi Chun's spirit, chi, and soul were extremely condensed. The Star Scar sword in his hand was waved at an unimaginable speed. Within a second, he had thrown out at least hundreds of sword attacks. The invisible sword light had formed a layer of invisible sword net in front of him. His extraordinary style had made the eyes of some of the female disciples brighten up. Pop! Pop! Just like Yi Chun had expected, Li Daoxian's sky kill sword movement indeed contained 2 layers of power, one in the light and one in the dark. The sword attack in the light might look like a fake attack, but it could not be avoided. The sword attack in the dark would definitely kill with one attack, which was where Li Daoxian's real body was. The two complemented each other, which was enough to kill warriors at the same level. Right now, the sword attack in the light had been broken, so Li Daoxian's dark attack was coming right at Yi Chun's throat. Ting! A metal clashing sound was heard. Li Daoxian's sword had been blocked out. It was also a sword that had blocked him. The sword light kept spinning, piercing through the air and chasing back. It stuck close to Li Daoxian's sword body, attacking towards his palm. Li Daoxian frowned. Yi Chun's toughness had made him feel like he did not have enough power for the first time. When Yi Chun was breaking his attack, he did not release his lone peak kill poetic perspective. When his sword attack was broken halfway, the poetic perspective suddenly appeared, which slowed down his reaction speed by half a second. His sword's speed had been slowed down, and that half a second was enough for Yi Chun to use his sword to block and fight back. Moving sword steps, his feet were like swords, and his body was like a ghost. Li Daoxuan's body moved away, avoiding Yi Chun's counterattack. Small skies shattering clouds. Holding the sword with only one hand, Yi Chun's sword art style changed. Every movement contained thunder and lightning, and the wind and clouds started to gather. It contained an endless explosive power. It was like what he had thrown out was not a sword attack, but beams of lightning and clouds, not giving Li Daoxian any chance to breathe. Pooh! 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 The sword chi left cracks on the ground. Li Daoxian did not expect Yi Chun's style to change so quickly. It had completely messed up his own rhythm, and he kept performing his moving sword steps. Earth explosion, sky shock. Finding out Li Daoxuan's pattern of dodging, Yi Chun suddenly stomped on the ground. He performed the secret martial art that he had gotten from the Bloody Butcher a long time ago, the Earth Explosion Sky Shock. Although the rank of the Earth Explosion Sky Shock was not that high, and it would not be able to cause any real damage to his opponent, but its supportive effect could not be underestimated. As his Zhen Qi poured into the ground, the place where Li Daoxian had landed cracked open like a spider web. Not good. Without a choice, Li Daoxian took a deep breath in the air, forcefully stopping his falling body. Then his Zhen Qi exploded, barely avoiding the attack range of the Earth Explosion Sky Shock. Shoo! There was no way that Yi Chun would let go of this opportunity. He performed his separating shadow flying art. His body flickered, and he quickly appeared in front of Li Daoxian, throwing out his sword attack. Li Daoxian used his sword to block out the attack in an extremely uncomfortable position. He opened his left hand's 5 fingers, and a suction force appeared out of nowhere, trying to grab Yi Chun's body. Separate. All he managed to grab was Yi Chun's Zhen Qi shadow. Under the twisting suction force, it was shattered into pieces. Boom! After losing the opportunity to attack, Li Daoxian could no longer block out Yi Chun's sword attack. Under a dark sword light, his whole body was blown away, and his Zhen Qi layer had been shattered. With blood leaking out from the corner of his mouth, Li Daoxian looked extremely serious. While he was still in the air, he forcefully pushed his Zhen Qi and performed the sword step. He changed his original flying route and avoided Yi Chun's next sword attack. Dozens of meters away, Li Daoxian tapped the ground with the tip of his foot and shot out with his long sword in his hand. This is my killing sword attack. If you can block it, you win. After throwing out the sword attack, the air became even calmer. The sword light attacked towards Yi Chun at a speed that was faster than the human eye could see. If it was only this, it would not be enough to be called Li Daoxuan's killing attack. This sword attack seemed to have blocked out all the noises from under the stage. Indeed, this sword attack was called Silence. It was one of the killing attacks of the Heartless Sword Art. During the battle with Yan Qihua, Li Daoxian had used this killing attack to cut off a strand of Yan Qihua's hair. If it were not for the fact that he could not fully perform his silence attack, Yan Qihua might not be able to win against him. Because the two of them had been fighting at such a fast speed, there were very few people who had actually noticed that sword attack. There were less than 5 or even less people among the young generation. All the noise disappeared, and there was no trace left in the air. It was like the sword light was no longer a sword light, but a part of the air. What a good silence attack. It is even more perfect than when he was fighting against me. Yan Qihua was still a bit scared. Excluding the silence attack, Li Daoxian was still a bit weaker than him, so it would not be that hard for him to win. However, once the silence attack was used, even he could not react in time. He could only block and counterattack subconsciously. To win in the end, besides the achievement of his blade art realm, there was also a bit of luck. Otherwise, it would not be a strand of hair that was cut off, but an ear or even his head. The leader of the Heartless Martial School had made up his mind. The combination of the Heartless Sword Intent and the Heartless Sword Art would be much more powerful than the Sword Intent and Sword Art. Combined with this silence attack, the situation was starting to look better. So, this attack is called silence? What vivid name. Yichen stood where he was without moving. He stretched his body. As for Li Daoxian being able to cut off a strand of Yanqihua's hair, how could he not notice it? The reason why he had purposely suppressed his sword art realm was because he wanted to see the power of this attack and improve his own sword art realm. Chapter 277. Almost within a second, the sword light that Li Daoxian had thrown out had arrived in front of Yichen. The sword light did not have the slightest vibration. It was shaped like a crescent moon, and the tip of the crescent moon carried a thunderous power. It was impossible to describe how fast and sharp that sword attack was. Just as the sword light was about to reach Yichen made his move. He held the star scar sword tightly with both of his hands, waving it at a speed that was even faster than the sword light. Most of the people could not even see how he waved his sword or what angle he had chosen. Seal. This sword attack was not about breaking, but about blocking. Li Daoxian's sword light was way too fast and violent. Two powerful sword attacks would not be able to block it in advance. Only the simplest fast sword poetic perspective would be able to do it. However, the power of the fast sword poetic perspective was way weaker than the lone peak kill and the sky-shattering clouds poetic perspective. It only focused on speed and aimed to perform the fastest sword art with the fastest reaction speed. Shoo! Countless sparks splashed everywhere. Because of the inertia, all of these sparks were shooting towards Yichen's direction, wrapping him up in the air. It was like a flower of fire was blooming towards him. It was unimaginably beautiful. Li Daoxian's sword light had not disappeared yet. It started to bounce violently, as if it was trying to break through Yichen's blocking and give him a fatal attack. Ting! The star scar sword pulled back a little bit, but then attacked back at even faster speed, hitting the same spot where the sword light had been. The sword light was broken with a sound that sounded like metal breaking. The next second, two beams of light, one on the left and one on the right, had cut out a deep mark on the platform behind Yichen, stretching for dozens of meters. Silent. It turns out that the power of the sword light was compressed to an extreme extent, cutting off its connection with the air and the outside world at the same time. Sound was transmitted through the air, so naturally it couldn't be transmitted in, creating a man-made, silent world. Yichen's blocking was not for nothing. Through the vibration that came from the sword light and the star scar sword when they clashed, as well as the feeling of his soul power, Yichen had discovered the secret of the silent attack in a very short period of time. However, knowing was one thing. Wanting to use this move out of thin air was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. For example, everyone knew that by compressing Jinqi to a certain degree, one could kill an astral-reaching realm warrior or even a Sea of Souls realm warrior. But no one had such a powerful control over it, since it would be even harder than becoming a life and death realm warrior. There were many simple mysteries in the world, but most of them were useless because ordinary methods could not be used at all. Therefore, techniques came into being. Skill could be described as a shortcut. It could make it easier for a martial artist to grasp some difficult things and do things that they could not do in the past. The silent killing move contained an extreme technique. Through this technique, the sword light could be compressed to the extreme, causing the speed and power to increase sharply and killing silently. He blocked the sword. After performing his silent ace attack, Li Daoxian felt like all of his energy had been sucked out of him. Seeing that Yichen had blocked out that sword light without a scratch, he could not help but be shocked. However, before this shock could spread out, he saw that sword light had been cut in half. It had been cut in half. Slowly letting out a breath, Yichen smiled and said, "This sword attack is very powerful. Unfortunately, it is not perfect yet. Otherwise, I would not be able to break it." The sword light that was condensed like steel was extremely tough. Even Yichen could not cut it in half at once. He could only do it twice, since he did not have Mo Yan Sky Demon Eyes, which allowed him to see the weaknesses with his eyes. In fact, if it were Mo Yin, he would not be able to do anything either, since his reaction speed would not even be half of Yichen's. Regardless, the silent killing move was indeed a killing move. If it could be perfected in the future, if Yichen wanted to block it out, he would have to learn the fast sword poetic perspective to the extreme. I have lost. You are indeed powerful. You can compete with Yin Shihua. Li Daoxian knew that Yin Shihua was still holding back some of his power. Being able to cut off a strand of his hair might have been due to luck. Yichen being able to take on the silent killing move without being hurt meant that he could compete with Yin Shihua. Oh woo! A dragon roar was heard. The dragon-shaped shadow outside, Yi Chen's body had devoured Li Daoxuan's dragon fountain chi and had grown again. It was now 23 meters tall, looking very majestic. Right then, the audience had already started to discuss. Beating Li Daoxian, Yi Chen would be the #1 sword artist among the young generation in the whole South River region. What a surprise. Indeed, right now, even Li Daoxian had lost to Yi Chen. Who would be the next one? Would he beat his opponent, or would he stop his winning streak? In everyone's eyes, Yi Chen had turned from a dark horse into a super dark horse. He had managed to get into the top 10 from the elimination competitions, and it was not over yet. Right now, he had already beaten 4 top young warriors. Gu Yuyun, who had not fought with him before, would definitely not be his opponent. Then, there were still Xikong Sheng, Yin Shihua, Lin Yun, and Murong Qingcheng. No matter who he beat, it would make his reputation even brighter. Even if he lost, he would at least be ranked 5th in the Hidden Dragon rank, which was not something that normal people could fight for. The leader of the Heartless Martial School side, even Li Daoxian, had lost to Yi Chen in this kind of condition. What else could he say? The #1 young sword artist in the whole South River region would have nothing to do with the Heartless Martial School anymore. But it was good for him. Without competition, there would be no motivation. After this battle, Daoxian might be able to reach the next level. He is indeed a powerful opponent. Yin Shihua had never looked so serious before. Yi Chen was way too sharp. If he did not use all of his power, he would most likely lose. The good thing was that this battle had allowed him to see a lot of things, and he had a better understanding of Yi Chen's bottom line. Li Daoxian, you have helped me a lot. Yin Shihua thought to himself. The 33rd battle, Yin Shihua against Tuo Baku. Compared to the battle for the #1 young sword artist, the battle between Yin Shihua and Tuo Baku had also attracted everyone's attention. Although Tuo Baku had lost to Yi Chen, everyone knew that with his powerful defense, it would be hard for Yi Chen to beat him completely in a real battle. Great! Another powerful one. That rich Zhen Qi was quickly hidden inside his body, sticking to the surface of Tuo Baku's skin. It looked like a layer of dark blue light membrane. An excited look flashed through his eyes as he threw out his ruined 18 fist art. Chin. Yin Shihua took out his long blade, which was covered in a red flame. That fire element Zhen Qi had condensed into a flame that was different from Lin Yun's. It seemed to be purer and more powerful. As Yin Shihua threw out a blade attack, the area in front of him had been sliced open. Boom! Tuo Baku's fist aura had not been pushed to its limit before it was broken by that blade attack. That aggressive flame drowned Tuo Baku within. Dragon World. The flame was broken open, and Tuo Baku shot out from within. He threw out a killing attack in the air, and that massive dragon-shaped chi swallowed Yin Shihua, who was not far away. Chapter 278. Crack! The burning hot blade light flashed once, and the dragon-shaped chi was cut in half. Yin Shihua flew out from the crack and threw out 8 blade attacks towards Tuo Baku. The 8 blade lights were extremely powerful, without any pattern. They were like 8 wild horses that had escaped from their reins, making it hard for people to predict where they would land. Boom, 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 boom. Tuo Baku had dodged 5 of the blade light, but he could not avoid the other 3 no matter how hard he tried. He had to take it head-on. He roared, and his body flew backward while throwing out an uppercut punch towards Yin Shihua. Of course, it was not a normal uppercut punch. Under Yin Shihua's feet, a dragon-shaped chi appeared out of nowhere and blew him into the sky. That sharp claws and teeth had almost torn apart his protective Zhen Qi layer. All of the people watching the battle could not help but be shocked. That attack did not seem to be that powerful, but it was extremely hard to defend against. They did not expect that Tuo Baku would still have another attack, but they did not know why he did not use it on Yichun. Tuo Baku, who had landed on the ground, made a face. Of course, he wanted to use it on Yichun, but he had never fought with Yichun before, so he did not know how powerful he was. It would not be easy to lock on his body. Up until now, no one had managed to touch Yichun's body. In his opinion, the scariest thing about Yichun was not anything else, but that insanely powerful control. Trying to play tricks with him, he would definitely kill you. Fire Dragon cut. Standing in the sky, Yin Chihua threw out a blade attack. That fiery red blade, Chi exploded in the air, turning into a sharp fire dragon, attacking towards Tuo Baku. Tuo Baku lifted up his palm that had turned dark blue and pressed onto the head of the fire dragon. That powerful palm power had slapped the fire dragon until it cracked open. Break! As the palm power was pushed out, the fire dragon had been shattered. Flame cut. Seizing this slight opportunity, Yin Chihua appeared in front of Tuo Baku within a second. He waved his long blade upwards, not only blowing away Tuo Baku, but also shooting out a bright red flame that landed on Tuo Baku's body, bringing up a rain of fire. Tuo Baku did not dare to waste any more time as he endured the flame and threw an uppercut punch at Yin Chihua. Learning from experience, Yin Chihua had long been prepared for this move. He held his saber in a reverse grip and struck the ground with blazing flames. Rumble. The dragon-shaped chi and the saber aura collided and finally dispersed. Let's see how you block this blade. The long blade stabbed into the platform, but Yin Chihua did not pull it out right away. Instead, he pushed his wrist and opened up a blade mark on the ground. That sky-reaching blade light had blown to Baku hundreds of meters away. He landed heavily on the dark blue light wall, bringing up a series of ripples. However, before that, Tuo Baku had also returned an attack. That powerful fist power had landed on the surface of his protective Zhenqi layer, which had boiled up Yin Chihua's chi and blood. The winner had been decided. Tuo Baku had lost this battle, but he himself was only slightly wounded. His insane defense had once again amazed everyone. The 65th round of battles had ended. After resting for an hour, the 66th round began. In this round of battles, the top 4 young warriors were Bing Ling, Gu Yuyun, Yin Chihua, and Mo Yin. Bing Ling against Gu Yuyun, and Yin Chihua against Mo Yin. Gu Yuyun's power was still a bit weak, even though she had the Stone King's top martial art. The Stone King body protective fist art. It was still hard for her to block out Bing Ling's ice break fist art. After exchanging more than 30 attacks, she was beaten by Bing Ling with only one punch. As for the battle between Yin Chihua and Mo Yin, there was no suspense at all. It ended with Yin Chihua's complete victory. However, the 18th battle was very eye-catching. The contestants were the super popular Murong Qingsheng and Li Daoxian, who had lost to Yichun. Right then, the battle had already entered the most crucial moment. The winner would be decided within a second. Silent Sword. Facing Murong Qingsheng's Sky Demon Power Field and Sky Demon Great Palm Print, Li Daoxian was having a hard time. No matter how powerful his sword art was, or how powerful his sword intent was, it was still hard for him to break through Murong Qingsheng's defense. If it was not being messed up by the Sky Demon Great Palm Print, then he would be hit by that horrifying power field cut. Without exaggeration, Murong Qingsheng was definitely the most troublesome warrior to deal with among the young generation. Because no matter if it was Xikong Sheng, Yin Chihua, or even Yichun, they were all battling with real martial arts. Battling styles like the Sky Demon Great Art were really rare. After battling for a long time, Li Daoxian found a flaw in Murong Qingsheng's defense and performed his silent ace attack. Pooh! Murong Qingsheng's reaction speed was not that crazy after all. Before he could perform his power field cut, he had already been hit by the sword light. The protective Sky Demon Power Field was twisted, and Murong Qingsheng's face went pale. His body backed out for a couple of steps. What was worth noting was that the sword light had not used all of its power yet. In that critical moment, Murong Qingsheng had used the twisting power of the protective Sky Demon Power Field to divert the sword light, making it go past his shoulder. Otherwise, under that sword attack, he would not just be looking pale, he would at least be badly wounded. No need to fight anymore. I have lost. Although he was not wounded this time, it did not mean that he would be able to next time. So, Murong Qingsheng gave up right away. Li Daoxian let out a breath and forced a smile. I really do not want to battle with you. The top two martial arts of the Sky Demon Martial School had always been famous for their toughness. For example, Mo Yan's Sky Demon Art. After training the Sky Demon Eyes, he would be able to see the weaknesses of his opponents. However, in Mo Yan's hands, it did not seem to be able to bring out its full power. And then there was the Sky Demon Great Art. This martial art's unique Sky Demon power field was even more difficult to deal with than the Sky Demon Eyes. Within a radius of 10 meters, the whole area would be covered by the power field. Plus, the user could use the power of the Sky Demon power field through his palm to reach a very far distance. It was a nightmare for normal warriors. The 24th battle, Yi Chun against Lin Yun. The fourth pair of top young warriors was indeed Yi Chun and Lin Yun. Lin Yun had lost to Murong Qingsheng more or less because of his carelessness. If he had not used 10 attacks to limit himself, he would not have been able to use all of his ace attacks in a hurry, which had allowed Murong Qingsheng to turn the tables in such a short time without any chance to fight back. Of course, whether or not Lin Yun had more power than Murong Qingsheng, Yi Chun did not care too much. Under the same conditions, Lin Yun would not be a threat to him at all. It was not only because of the difference in cultivation, but also because Yi Chun was not afraid of people like Lin Yun. Let's do it. With the Star Scar sword in his hand, Yi Chun and Lin Yun stood 100 meters apart. Lin Yun looked very gloomy. Losing to Murong Qingsheng had made him more cautious. However, Yi Chun had given him a lot of pressure. Before the last 9 battles, he had never considered Yi Chun as a real opponent. He thought that Yi Chun was just SOSO. Beating Li Daoxian is not that big of a deal. Just lose. The Skyfall attack required the Sky Fire 4 spear to store up its power. Lin Yun held the iron spear in his hand and threw it out. The red flame rushed towards Yi Chun, turning into layers of fire waves in the air. Ignoring the aggressive fire waves, Yi Chun extended his body and rushed towards the fire waves. Midway, he took out his Star Scar sword. A dark sword light flashed once before disappearing, separating the fire waves. Chapter 279. Clang. Sparks shot up into the sky. Lin Yun's Skyfall attack, which he had been waiting for, had been broken apart by Yi Chun with one sword attack. It was just when he had used up all of his previous power. With one sword attack, Yi Chun jumped into the air. The Star Scar sword in his hand was extremely powerful and full of explosive power. That intense sword light was like thunder and lightning, like an ocean of clouds. Every movement and movement gave people the feeling that it was unstoppable. Damn, dark flame kill. Lin Yun was shocked and angry at the same time. He had not expected that Yi Chun would change his battling style and become so aggressive. In the previous battles, he was obviously the type of person who would counter attacks as they came, and rarely took the initiative to attack. Seeing that his battling rhythm had been completely broken, Lin Yun did not even have the chance to perform his ace attacks. Without a choice, he replaced his iron spear with his left hand, accumulating an egg-sized dark red fireball and attacking towards Yi Chun. In fact, Yi Chun right now was the real Yi Chun. He was full of attacking power, showing off his power and cutting through all kinds of obstacles. Any opponent that was in his way would be cut down by his sword without any hesitation. But before that, he had wanted to learn something from the others to enrich himself. That was why he had hidden his power and countered attacks as they came. Right now, these experiences were more or less enough. As for the few people who had not fought against each other before, they did not need to compete with each other. After all, up until now, everyone had exposed all of their ace attacks. They had seen everything that they needed to see, and there was not much that they needed to think about. The fireball exploded violently, bringing up the chi everywhere. Shadow explosion. Countless overlapping shadows exploded. Yi Chun's real body flashed once, avoiding the exploding range of the fireball. He appeared on the right side of Lin Yun. He slightly shook his wrist, and that thunder-like sword light poured out. Each sword attack seemed to have been measured perfectly, and each attack was deadly. Pooh! 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 Lin Yun's protective Jinqi layer had been weakened to only a thin layer, which made him shocked. He was different from Tuo Baku, who had put most of his Jinqi on his skin, so his protective Jinqi layer was not that powerful. However, Lin Yun was the exact opposite. His protective Jinqi layer had definitely reached the 11th level of his martial art, which was very powerful. However, under Yi Chen's continuous sword light, it was showing signs of breaking down. How could he not be shocked? Fire Essence Shield. More burning Zhen Qi poured out, forming into a shield shadow made of flames in front of Lin Yun. The shield shadow was thick and heavy, covered in patterns. Because of the intense Zhen Qi pressing against each other, clear sparks kept shooting out of the surface of the shield. Bang! The sword light was finally repelled by the fire elemental shield, unable to advance any further. Quick sword. His footwork was unpredictable. Yi Chen took a step forward and got close to him. The Star Scar, sword in his hand, moved at a speed that could not be seen by the naked eye. Dang! The shield shadow had been blown away, and the sword light was extremely sharp, pointing right at Lin Yun's chest. You are too much. Lin Yun was furious. Since the beginning of the Hidden Dragon rank competitions, there had never been anyone who could not even give him a chance to attack. The anger in his heart grew as he performed the Sky Fall Great Art of the Sky Fall Martial School. A total of 5 shield shadows were formed outside of his body, blocking all of the blind spots. Yi Chen's eyebrows flicked as he changed his sword movement from the quick sword to the lone peak kill. The poetic perspective of his 60% sword intent spread out, covering the area where Lin Yun was standing. I do not believe that you can break through my fire Yuan shield. Under the influence of the poetic perspective of the lone peak kill, Lin Yun's reaction speed had obviously slowed down a bit. Right then, he did not have the time to dodge. His right palm cracked open, blood splashing out. He was ready to take on Yi Chen's attack head-on, and at the same time, give him a fatal attack. Shoo! What was out of Lin Yun's expectation was that Yi Chen had backed out without any warning. It made Lin Yun feel depressed, as if he had just punched into the air. Even the blood fire break that he had been cultivating in his hand had almost been shattered. But right then, Yi Chen, who had backed out for dozens of meters, threw out another attack. Sky-shattering clouds. Holding the sword with both of his hands, Yi Chen's clothes danced in the air as he threw out a sword attack. Lin Yun's face looked extremely hideous. The blood on his right hand had condensed into a bloody spear tip. As he waved his right hand, the spear was shot out. Burning flames shot up into the sky. Thunder and lightning were mixed together, and the wind was roaring. The two completely different ace attacks had been combined together. Any clasping Yuan realm warriors who touched it would be killed instantly. Break! The ace attacks had canceled out each other. Yi Chen's body had exploded again. Dozens of shadows flew towards Lin Yun. All of a sudden, Lin Yun could not even tell which one was Yi Chen's real body and which one was the Zhenqi shadow. Without a sound, a sword stabbed into the gap between the fire Yuan shield and landed on Lin Yun's shoulder, bringing up a stream of blood. What a powerful attack! First, he had used up Lin Yun's ace attack. Then he had killed him with one attack, leaving him no chance to fight back. Li Daoxian took a deep breath as he thought to himself. Pow! The leader of the Sky Fall Martial School had a bad look on his face. The armrest of his chair had been cracked by his grip. This brat is indeed cunning. Right next to him, the headmaster of the Sky Fall Martial School did not know what to say. He could only say this after a long while. The leader of the Sky Fall Martial School sneered, but did not say anything. After devouring Lin Yun's dragon fountain chi, the dragon-shaped shadow on Yi Chen's body had expanded to an unprecedented height. It reached 25 meters, catching up with Yin Qihua and Sikong Sheng. Lin Yun looked down at the tiny sword hole on his shoulder. He still could not believe that he had lost, and he had nowhere to vent his anger. On the judge's seat, all of the judges looked at each other and announced Yi Chen as the winner of the battle. Next was the battle between Sikong Sheng and Tua Baku. Tua Baku's power was among the top of the young generation, but his opponent was Sikong Sheng, the king warrior of the young generation of the South River region. If his attacking power did not reach Yin Chiwa's level, he would not even have the right to challenge him. So, he had lost the battle without any surprise. The 67th round, the first battle, Murong Qingsheng against Yi Chun. Once the 67th battle began, the audience started to get excited. Murong Qingsheng and Yi Chun were both very popular among the young generation. Judging only based on popularity, they could be ranked in the top 3. Adding their equally powerful power, it was no doubt that the audience was looking forward to it. On the battling platform, Murong Qingsheng was wearing a purple robe with a light veil over her face. Her body was slim, and her pitch-black pupils were like 2 bright stars, making people unable to move their eyes away. On the other side, Yi Chun was wearing a blue robe with a long sword hanging on his waist. He looked calm and elegant, as if he was standing alone in the world. At this moment, everyone was stunned by what they saw. Murong Qingsheng revealed a light smile. "I have not seen you for more than a year. I did not expect you to have improved this much. Winning all the battles, I am afraid that even I would not be able to beat you." It would be a lie to say that she was not surprised. Back in the Three River City of the Spirit Nation, Yi Chun was only an early clasping Yuan realm warrior, and his sword intent had only reached entry level, which was the same as Wei Renjia. But after not seeing each other for more than a year, his sword intent had not only reached 60%, but his sword art and personal cultivation had also increased drastically, reaching an unimaginable level. It had even made Shi Xing, who had always been quiet, curious. "It is just a matter of personal experience," Yi Chun said. Murong Qingsheng nodded. "Then let's begin." Looking serious, Murong Qingsheng immediately pushed her Sky Demon power field. Her left hand performed the Sky Demon catch, while her right hand attacked with the Sky Demon palm. Facing Murong Qingsheng's attack, Yi Chun's body flashed, avoiding the Sky Demon catch. At the same time, his Star Scar sword was taken out of its scabbard. The sharp sword Qi clashed with Murong Qingsheng's Sky Demon palm. The sword Qi had been shattered, but Murong Qingsheng frowned. In her sight, Yi Chun had performed the separating body art that he had used to beat Lin Yan. His clones were everywhere, stacking on top of each other, making it hard to tell which one was the real one. Sky Demon Strangle. Both of her hands attacked in the air. Murong Qingsheng activated her Sky Demon power field and twisted it slightly. Pop, pop, pop. At least 10 Jinchi shadows had been shattered by the Sky Demon power field, clearing out a huge area. But what welcomed her next was a sword light that was as powerful as thunder in the sky. It landed heavily on the protective Sky Demon power field, bringing up waves of ripples and boiling her chi and blood. Power field cut. Murong Qingsheng moved her hand as she threw out a power field cut towards where the sword light was coming from. It contained both the positive and negative Sky Demon power field, which was extremely horrifying. It had torn apart the surface of the platform, leaving a deep mark that spread out in a straight line. Swoosh! Another Zhen Qi shadow had been cut into pieces. Lone Peak kill. Yi Chun's real body appeared 10 meters away from Murong Qingsheng, right next to the Sky Demon power field. He did not care about the effect of the Sky Demon power field, as he flipped his wrist and stabbed in with his Star Scar sword with a determined posture. His poetic perspective covered his opponent perfectly. Who? The sword Qi and the Sky Demon power field clashed against each other. The ripples that were created spread out, affecting on both Yi Chun and Murong Qingsheng. Murong Qingsheng's face turned pale. That second, her reaction speed had been affected, and she did not manage to launch the counterattack at the right time. Instead, she had been attacked by her own Sky Demon power field, which had only wounded her slightly. Meanwhile, Yi Chun had already backed out a bit, so he had only taken some of the remaining ripples of the power field. With only 60% sword intent, it was naturally impossible to break through Murong Qingsheng's Sky Demon power field. Yi Chun used his separating shadow flying art to stay 10 meters away from Murong Qingsheng. He kept performing his lone peak kill and sky-shattering clouds, trying to break the stability of the sky demon power field and not give his opponent a chance to breathe. After dozens of attacks, Murong Qingqing's face was getting paler and paler. People had always said that the sky demon great art was hard to deal with, but no one knew how hard it was for Yichun. He had gotten the upper hand, and she did not even have the chance to fight back. Right now, she could feel what Lin Yun was feeling. After another 10 attacks, Murong Qingqiang said, "There's no need to fight anymore. I have lost." Hearing her, Yichun put his star scar sword back into its scabbard and backed out 10 steps. "Thank you." Yichun's victory was expected, but it was also unexpected. No one had expected that Yichun, who was full of attacking power, would be this powerful. The Sky Demon power field that even Lin Yun and Li Daoxian could not handle had been broken down by him. Head disciple, this guy is too hard to deal with. Right next to Sikong Sheng, a core disciple from the floating mountain martial school frowned and said. The expression on Sikong Sheng's face was very calm, without any change. He said lightly, his battling experience is not bad. Unfortunately, in front of absolute power, all of this would be meaningless. In his eyes, Yin Chihua could only make him a little bit more serious and would not pose any threat to him. As for Yi Chun, he was just like Yin Chihua, maybe even weaker. Chapter 280. After Yi Chun had beaten Murong Qingsheng in the battles between the top young warriors, Mo Yin had used his sky demon eyes to break through Guyun's Stone King body protective fist art. He had won the first victory in the last 9 battles, which had saved a lot of face. Right after that, Bing Ling, who had performed all of her ace attacks, had lost to Baku, who had a powerful defense. What was worth noting was that Bing Ling's ace attack, the Ice Crystal Fist art, was getting better and better. It was not easy for Tuo Baku to win. Right now, it was Sikong Sheng versus Li Daoxian. On the battling platform, Li Daoxian kept performing his sword step art, trying his best to avoid Sikong Sheng's powerful fist power. Waiting for the opportunity, he pushed his sword intent to its limit. The sword light shone brightly, and the sword chi was extremely sharp, cutting towards Sikong Sheng's protective Jinqi at an extreme speed. River Tyrant Fist. With his right hand still behind his back, Sikong Sheng turned his left hand into a fist and threw out a punch. The powerful fist power directly caused the air to ripple like a tide. Pop, 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 pop. The sword chi was broken, but the power of the fist did not dissipate. It brushed past Li Daoxuan's flying figure and heavily hit the dark blue light screen. The light screen swelled outwards as if it couldn't withstand the force and was about to explode. What level of fist force is this? The ceiling light screen is about to explode. The audience was silent. After a long time, someone said in a trembling voice, "The strength of the ceiling light wall is equivalent to an early astral reaching realm warrior's protective Jinyuan layer, so it is not likely to be broken." However, Sikong Sheng's fist power is indeed horrifying. Even the most normal protective Jinyuan layer is not something that normal clasping Yuan realm warriors can break. He's too far ahead of the younger generation. The dark blue light wall on the edge of the battling platform was called the stage ceiling light wall. Although it had nothing to do with Zhen Yuan, its defensive power was not weaker than the protective Zhen Yuan layer. In the past 1,000 years, no one had ever heard of anyone being able to break through the light wall directly. Even the light wall had barely been shaken. Naturally, no one believed that Sikong Sheng would be able to break through the light wall. However, judging from the previous situation, Sikong Sheng's fist power had obviously reached the limit of the light wall. He's too strong. Every move he makes has such power. How are we supposed to block him? I guess Sikong Sheng has not used all of his power yet. Otherwise, this light wall might not be able to handle it. The young generation was shocked as well. Only the disciples from the floating mountain martial school were full of pride. Once their head disciple became the #1 disciple of the Hidden Dragon rank again, they would be able to enjoy the benefits as well. Even a little bit of that endless luck would be able to save them years of hard work. Silent Sword. Pushing his sword step to its peak, Li Daoxian crossed hundreds of meters and appeared on the right side of Sikong Sheng. throwing out a sword attack without a sound. The sound coming from outside was cut off immediately, and the whole world became silent. Only a soul-stirring sword light was left, shooting towards Sikong Sheng like lightning. Silent killer move. It is worth it for me to use my right hand. His body shook slightly. Sikong Sheng did not make any movement, but he had already turned around, facing Li Daoxian. His right hand reached out from his back and clenched in the air. The calm air suddenly tightened up, as if it had left the whole world and become one with itself. Under this terrifying, tightening force, the speed of the sword light rapidly slowed down. In the end, it became visible to the naked eye, and the sword chi was dense. Fist whirl. The clothes on his body fluttered without any wind as Sikong Sheng threw out a fist attack. Crack. When the sword light was less than 5 meters away from Sikong Sheng, it shattered into thousands of pieces, splashing everywhere. Then, it shot back like a hornet returning to its nest. Light dots fell like rain. Li Daoxian flashed again and again. Each time he stopped, it would not be longer than a second. However, there were just too many broken sword lights. His shoulders, legs, and arms had all been scratched by the light dots, causing blood to spill everywhere. Sikong Sheng stood with his hands behind his back. You are quite powerful. Your silent ace attack has gotten a bit more powerful. Sealing the acupuncture point to stop the bleeding, Li Daoxian lifted up his head and said, "Among the young generation, you are indeed the most powerful warrior I have ever seen. I heard that after this year's Hidden Dragon rank competitions, you will be going to other regions to train." Indeed, in the South Ridra region, I could not feel any pressure anymore. Only by leaving the South Ridra region and seeing the top martial geniuses from other regions would I be able to train even faster. Sikong Sheng had planned for this a long time ago. Although his training speed was the #1 in the whole South Ridra region, and no one could compete with him, it would still be extremely hard for him to reach the life and death realm. It should be known that within the same generation, there would rarely be more than 3 people who could reach the life and death realm. So, it was not hard to imagine how hard it would be. In the next year or two, he would go to another region. The dragon fountain chi on his body was being devoured by Sikong Sheng's dragon-shaped shadow. Li Daoxian put away his long sword and said, "I have a feeling that this year's Hidden Dragon rank will not end so easily. I will end it without any suspense." Sikong Sheng's tone was very calm, but it contained an unimaginable confidence. The 67th round, the 35th battle. Yan Qihua against Lin Yun. Skyfall attack. Fire Dragon cut. The Zhen Qi that the two had trained was slightly different, but they were both fire element Zhen Qi. The fire element Zhen Qi was famous for its aggressive power. Each of its movements was extremely powerful, bringing up flames everywhere. Shooting star step. Wave treading kill. His body was like a shooting star, fast as lightning. Lin Yun performed his ace attack that was just as famous as the dark flame kill, the wave treading kill. A burning spear attack was shot out along with the endless fire waves. Flame cut. Earthcrack cut. Yan Qihua did not back out at all. He threw out a blade attack to block the tip of the spear. He then stabbed his long blade into the ground, slicing upwards, bringing up an even more horrifying firelight. Boom! Lin Yun's 11 Sky Fall Great Art had been pushed to its limit, forming layers of fire yuan shields around his body. The fire yuan shields were thick and heavy, blocking out Yan Qihua's killing blade attack. "You have underestimated me." Lose. Gold flame cut. After the earthcrack cut, it was an even more powerful ace attack. The blade was covered in flames, and its color had changed from red to gold red. It had burned the air around it into nothingness, turning it into a vacuum world. Without a sound, the bright gold blade light shot out horizontally. It had been accelerated to its limit in the vacuum state, brutally attacking on Lin Yun's fire yuan shield. It was as fast as lightning. Boom! A loud explosion was heard. Lin Yun could not stop his body. He was blown backward along with that burning fire wave. The fire yuan shield around his body had been completely shattered, leaving nothing behind. Damn it! Blood flame break. There were too many bleeding places on his body. Lin Yun waved his hand in the air, and a huge amount of blood gathered into a pile. Under the burning flame, it turned into a blood-colored spear tip that was as long as a forearm. It broke through the air and shot out at an extremely fast speed, leaving a bloody red light on its tail. Second kill gold flame cut. Yin Shihua did not dare to underestimate the power of the blood flame break. He backed out with a strange footwork. As he was backing out, the long blade in his hand suddenly performed its ace attack, clashing onto the tip of the blood-colored spear. A golden-red flame, mushroom, cloud rose up in the air. The ceiling light wall around the stage expanded a couple of times, looking like a bloated stomach that was constantly shrinking. Shattering the hard platform with 1 foot, Yin Chihua stabilized his body. The long blade in his hand that was covered in flames pointed at the ground as he opened his mouth. Lin Yun, you are still far from it. Lin Yun was furious inside as he sneered. If it were a life-and-death battle, I might not lose to you. The extreme power of the blood flame break is not just this powerful. Huh, if you have lost, then you have lost. What are you talking about? In a life-and-death battle, you might not even have the chance to talk anymore. Along with Yin Chihua's aggressive aura, the dragon-shaped shadow jumped directly at Lin Yun, devouring his dragon fountain Shi to replenish its own power. Yin Chihua is indeed not to be underestimated. He has broken Lin Yun's Fire Yuan shield from the front. This attacking power is extremely horrifying. Right now, there are only 3 people who still have an undefeated record. They are Sikong Sheng, Yin Chihua, and Yi Chun. The 3 of them will have a battle for sure. I wonder what the result will be. As the battle was coming to an end, the audience knew that the most intense battle was about to begin. They could not control their excitement anymore. The next battle had ended, and the 67th round had come to an end. It was already the 68th round. This round did not have much of a challenge for Yi Chun. His opponent was Bing Ling. After dozens of exchanges, Bing Ling had to admit defeat again. The battle in front of him was between Murong Qingsheng and Yin Chihua. Murong Qingsheng's Sky Demon Sky art was extremely hard to deal with. Yin Chihua could not break through her defense all of a sudden. Plus, his movement art and skills were not as good as Yi Chen's, so he could not gain the upper hand from the beginning to the end. He could only use his powerful frontal battling power to exchange attacks with Murong Qingsheng. Gold flame cut. Flames were everywhere as Yin Chihua threw out 3 blade attacks towards Murong Qingsheng. 3 beams of gold-red blade light sliced through the air, chasing after her. Power field cut, protective sky demon kill. Murong Qingsheng performed her power field cut with both of her hands, breaking 2 of the blade light instantly. When the last blade light got into the protective sky demon power field, it had been shattered by the rotating power field around Murong Qingsheng. Yin Chihua obviously did not expect to beat Murong Qingsheng with 3 blade light attacks. His goal was to get closer. Once he got closer, he would throw out his second kill gold flame cut immediately. Woo! The Sky Demon power field had been broken by half, but it was eventually blocked by Murong Qingsheng's ace attack, condensed power field. However, that aggressive power that had been added to the blade light had blown her away immediately. Crack round cut. With no time to lose, Yin Chihua stabbed his blade into the ground and threw out a slanted attack, beating his opponent with 1 attack. After the top 4 young warriors had made their moves, there were still 6 warriors left. Without too many surprises, Sikong Sheng had taken out Mo Yin without any effort. Li Daoxian had broken Guiyun's Stone King body protective fist art with his super powerful sword art cultivation. After that, Tua Baku had fought with Lin Yun. Seriously speaking, the battle between the two was the real battle of equals. Tua Baku's defense was super powerful, and Lin Yun's was not weak either. If the two wanted to break through each other's defense, it would be almost impossible. In the end, Lin Yun performed his blood fire break and burned through Tua Baku's protective Jinqi layer. At the same time, Tua Baku performed his dragon traveling world and blew Lin Yun away, landing heavily on the dark blue light wall. The battle was still not over yet. Crawling back up from the ground, The two continued to battle. This time, it was no longer a battle of battling power, but of stamina. Whoever could last until the end would be the winner. After half an hour, Tuo Baku's stamina was still slightly better, and he had barely won against Lin Yun. Right then, he was already gasping for air, and his battling power had been greatly reduced. As the battle between the two had ended, there would no longer be any battles between top young warriors in the 68th round, which made people lose their interest. This situation did not last long. Once the 68th round had ended, the sky had already turned dark, and the battles for the day had come to an end. Chapter 281. On the second day, it started to drizzle from the dark sky, landing on the ground. The slightly dark environment made the hidden dragon ancient city look even more ancient. On the battling field, there were tons of people, their voices reaching the sky. This little bit of rain did not affect them at all since they had reached the clasping Yuan realm. The first 4 or 5 rounds were fine. But don't you think that starting from the 67th round, the judges have purposely left the 3 of them until the end? What do you think the judges are doing? Their eyesight is way more powerful than us. Naturally, they could see it clearly. Otherwise, if the 3 of them were to fight right at the beginning, then the hidden dragon rank competitions would not be perfect. Yeah, that's true. It has been like this for the past few competitions as well. The top battles are always left to the last round. The warriors who were watching the battles had some doubts about the order of the competitions, but they were soon dispelled. As long as it did not violate the rules of the competitions, the judges still had a lot of power. They had the right to arrange their opponents. Even the leaders of the rank 6 martial institutions might not be able to decide, since their disciples were powerful enough. But at the same time, if they were not powerful enough, the arrangement would be useless. It all depended on the power. The 69th round of the competitions had officially begun. The first pair of top young warriors was Li Daoxian and Tuo Baku. Compared to Yin Shihua, Li Daoxuan's movement art was slightly better. Besides Si Kong Sheng, who had never used his movement art before, he was only second to Yi Chun. Therefore, Tuo Baku's uppercut fist could not hit Li Daoxian as he had hoped. Instead, Li Daoxian had taken the opportunity to attack him a couple of times. Eventually, Tuo Baku had lost to his silent ace attack. The second pair was Lin Yun and Mo Yin. Although Mo Yin had lost the competition this time, he had finally gained some fame. Judging on power, Lin Yun was not as powerful as Yin Shihua. Judging on battling skills, he was not as powerful as Li Daoxian, not to mention Yi Chun. Therefore, he had managed to gain the upper hand with his Sky Demon Eyes. That thick and heavy fire Yuan shield had a lot of weaknesses in his eyes. Unfortunately, Lin Yun's power was not to be underestimated. He was a powerful warrior at the same level as Tuo Baku. If it were not for the fact that he had suffered too much damage before and his condition had dropped a bit, Mo Yin might not even be able to get the upper hand. After being enraged, Lin Yun threw out a crazy attack. That iron spear that was covered in flames was like a dragon playing in the water, bringing up the wind and waves. The flame was so strong that it had suppressed Mo Yin until the end of the battle. After that, Si Kong Sheng and Murong Qingcheng started to fight. Among the young generation, the 2 of them were the most popular. Si Kong Sheng, the king warrior of the young generation and the champion of the last hidden dragon rank, it was reasonable for him to be this popular. Although Murong Qingcheng's power was not as powerful as Si Kong Sheng, sometimes women did not need to rely on their power to win the popularity. Their looks and temperament were also part of their power, since most of the warriors watching the battle were male. You're very strong. Are you interested in going to the other domains with me? Murong Qingcheng was about the same age as Si Kong Sheng. They were both in their 20s. But in Si Kong Sheng's eyes, Murong Qingcheng was only a woman. It was that simple. Murong Qingcheng shook her head slightly. Sorry, I will go out to train myself. But it is just a personal plan. I do not want to get involved with anyone. What a shame. Si Kong Sheng did not care too much about it. As a beautiful woman with both power and temperament like Murong Qingcheng, no one would not appreciate her beauty. He was no exception. However, for him, besides training, everything else was secondary. He only felt a bit regretful. Let's start. Sikong Sheng looked serious as he signaled to Murong Qingsheng. Sky Demon Catch. Without performing any attacking movement, Murong Qingsheng accumulated a huge amount of Sky Demon Power Field with both of her hands, attacking where Sikong Sheng was from a distance. Crack! The ground 3 steps behind Sikong Sheng cracked open. Blink body movement. Murong Qingsheng's pupil shrank. She threw out her attack first, and Sikong Sheng moved his body behind her. Because of his extreme speed, normal people would not be able to see his movement at all. It was as if the Sky Demon Catch had gone through his body and landed behind him. It was the first time that Sikong Sheng had performed his movement art. It was obviously more powerful than Li Daoxuan's, and even Yi Chen's was not as powerful as it. Off the stage, Yi Chen squeezed his eyes. The movement art that Sikong Sheng had performed was indeed a top-rank Earth Realm movement art, which was rarely seen even in rank 6 martial institutions. After all, it would be quite good for a normal rank 6 martial institution to have 4 or 5 top-rank Earth Realm martial arts. How could it be possible for them to have all kinds of top-rank Earth Realm martial arts? For example, Li Daoxuan's Sword Step Shift was only top-rank Earth Realm. But of course, it was definitely one of the top-rank Earth Realm flying arts. The good thing is that my Separating Shadow flying art is also top-rank Earth Realm. Otherwise, I would be in big trouble. Back when he was on the Snake Island in the Star Region Lake, Yi Chen had already trained his Flow Ruo 3 mysterious spell to the 3rd level, which had increased his Separating Shadow flying arts rank to top-rank Earth Realm. However, since the beginning of the competition, he had not only restricted his sword intent, but also his flying art, which was also one of his ace attacks. Force Field Cut. Murong Qingsheng accumulated 2 Sky Demon Power Fields with both of her hands, one positive and the other negative. The fields pressed and combined together, forming a huge cutting power, attacking towards Sikong Sheng. Sikong Sheng's body did not move at all, but he threw out his ace attack from his mysterious Sky Tyrant Fist art, confronting Murong Qingsheng's ace attack head-on. Boom! The force field cut was shattered. Fist Tyrant River. After shattering the force field cut with one punch, Sikong Sheng threw out another punch, which had shattered Murong Qingsheng's protective Sky Demon Power Field. It was something that had never happened since the beginning of the competition. Naturally, Murong Qingsheng had lost the battle. After devouring Murong Qingsheng's Dragon Fountain Qi, Sikong Sheng's dragon-shaped shadow had grown to 80 meters, only 2 feet away from 90 meters. I'm afraid that no one would be able to beat Sikong Sheng anymore. No, he would not even be able to fight with all of his power. Even Murong Qingsheng's Sky Demon Great Art had been shattered by him with only one punch. In the last Sky Demon rank, Yan Shihua was still able to fight against Sikong Sheng. But this time, Sikong Sheng is way too powerful. He is so powerful that most of the young warriors do not even have the right to challenge him. Yeah, Yi Chen's power is at the same level as Yan Shihua. Neither of them would be able to face Sikong Sheng. While everyone was talking, the competition continued until Yi Chen beat Gu Yuyun and Yan Shihua beat Bing Ling. The 69th round of competitions had come to an end. 2 hours had passed, and the 70th round had arrived. The next round would be the last one. This round of competitions had not started yet, but the audience seating had already been heated up. There was nothing else, because in this round of competitions, Yi Chen would either be fighting against Yan Shihua or Sikong Sheng. He would have to face one of them eventually, and no matter how the judges arranged the order, it would not change that fact. In the crowd's anticipation, Mo Yin had beaten Bing Ling, and Lin Yun had beaten Gu Yuyun. Now, it was Tuo Baku and Murong Qingsheng's turn. Murong Qingsheng's power might not be as powerful as Lin Yun's, and even if it was, it would not be that powerful. However, Tuo Baku still could not get the upper hand. Under Murong Qingsheng's Sky Demon Catch, Tuo Baku could not even maintain his own battling rhythm. On the other hand, Murong Qingsheng's power field cut could be ranked in the top 3 among the young generation, seeming to be right behind Sikong Sheng. It was even more powerful than Yan Shihua and Li Daoxuan's ace attacks. Tuo Baku's defense would naturally not be able to handle it. But even so, he had only been slightly wounded. After Tuo Baku had lost, all of the spectators were getting more and more excited, waiting for the next battle. The 23rd battle, Yi Chun against Yan Shihua. The head judge stood up and announced the battle himself. Boom! The sound wave was so loud that even the rain in the sky had been shaken off. A wave of slight pattern appeared in the air, covering the whole battling field. In this year's Hidden Dragon rank competitions, the 4th to 10th place was basically clear, and there would not be too many changes. Only the top 3 were still in the dark. To be exact, the 2nd and 3rd place were still not clear, and the 1st place had been reserved for Si Kong Sheng. Without a doubt, the 2nd and 3rd place would be Yan Shihua and Yi Chun. Si Kong Sheng would not even be considered, since only the 2 of them had won all of their battles without losing a single battle. Yan Shihua paid a lot of attention to this battle. He had already taken out his long blade when he was still off the stage, wearing it on his waist. His whole body was filled with blade intent as he flashed onto the battling platform. A blue light flashed, and Yi Chun followed right after him. Facing Yan Shihua's sky-high blade intent and blade aura, Yi Chun's expression did not change at all. With his blue robes and the long sword on his waist, he looked very calm, with a sense of calmness. Before the battle, I had never thought that you would be the one to make it this far. The blade intent on Yan Shihua's body was getting stronger and stronger. There was only a thin line between him and the 70% blade intent, and it seemed like it could break through at any second. However, this thin line was not that easy to break. Without a certain level of mastery of the blade art, it would be impossible to break through it even after 3 to 5 years. And this was because there were powerful warriors from the Fire Spirit Palace who had mastered the completed blade intent, who had given him a lot of guidance. Each of them looked very calm. Yan Shihua's blade intent had undoubtedly reached the peak of 60%, which was even more mature than the 60% blade intent. Let's fight. The sword intent was like an unsheathed weapon, shooting out of Yi Chun's body. It was the same 60% sword intent, but Yi Chun's sword intent was even purer than Li Daoxuan's. Fire Dragon Cut. The blade chi turned into a dragon as Yan Shihua pushed his Jun Chi and threw out a horrifying blade attack towards Yi Chun. A deep star-like sword light flashed in the air. No one knew when, but Yi Chun's Star Scar sword had already been taken out of its scabbard. Along with the 60% sword intent and the poetic perspective of the sky-shattering clouds, it accurately pointed at the head of the fire dragon blade chi. Sparks flew everywhere, looking like a rain of fire. Flashing his body, Yi Chun broke through the rain of fire and appeared in front of Yan Shihua, stabbing out his sword. That sword attack was sharp, but it also carried the elegance of a sightseeing. There was no need for any smoke or fire, and it was thrown out naturally, as if he was drawing a landscape painting with his sword. All of his experiences had been condensed into one sword attack. All of the previous battles had not been wasted. Plus, this sword attack did not combine all of the complicated experiences into one. There was not enough time. Yi Chun believed that he was not the only one who had comprehended it, but they would need more time to absorb the essence of it. What? Since the start of the Hidden Dragon rank competitions, it was the first time that Yan Shihua had fallen into a disadvantage. Yi Chun's sword attack made him feel like he could not block it. The poetic perspective of his sword art was too well-coordinated, so well-coordinated that Yan Shihua did not even know how to fight back. Right then, he finally realized how powerful Yi Chun was. His sword art training was so powerful that Li Daoxian could not even compare to him. Chapter 282. Explode. At that critical moment, Yan Shihua bit on the tip of his tongue. The Jun Qi inside his body exploded like a volcano, bringing up a sky-piercing blade intent. It seemed like he was going to block out Yi Chun's fatal sword attack with his exploding Jun Qi power. Swoosh! The Star Scar sword slowed down a bit, but it still stabbed in. The sword light was pointing right at Yan Shihua's chest. Open. Having gained a little bit of time, Yan Shihua did not have time to think. He threw out his burning red iron fist, landing on that sword light. A metal clashing sound was heard. The Star Scar sword in Yi Chun's hand had been bent by the fist power and bounced off. His whole body had been blown away, and Yin Chihua was even worse off. His left fist was covered in blood, and there was a bone-deep sword mark on it. If it were not for his high cultivation and the top-rank Earth Realm martial art from the Fire Spirit Martial School, that sword attack would have broken his left arm. Watching what had happened on the battling platform, everyone was shocked. What is going on? This is too crazy. One sword attack had wounded Yin Chihua. Could it be that Yi Chun had not used all of his power before and was just playing around? In everyone's mind, Yi Chen's flying art and skills were slightly better than Yin Chihua's, but their overall power was almost the same. In some ways, Yi Chun was still not as good as Yi Chun. However, right from the beginning, Yi Chun had overturned everyone's judgment and wounded Yin Chihua with an unbelievable sword attack. Yin Chihua's eyes were burning with fire. You have successfully pissed me off. Now, you'll have to face my anger. With a loud yell, Yin Chihua pushed his Zhun Qi to the 7th rotation. That long blade in his hand that was covered in flames suddenly turned into a roaring fire dragon. It attacked towards Yi Chun with a momentum that could crack open mountains and break the sky. Right then, Yin Chihua had used all of his battling power, which was at least 30% more powerful than when he was facing Li Daoxian and Lin Yin. His spirit, qi, and soul had all exploded. Seeing that, Yi Chen's expression did not change at all. His body kept flashing and drifting, easily dodging that burning attack. Then, he shook his Star Scar sword. That bright sword light spread out like rain, covering Yin Chihua, who was not far away. Yin Chihua sneered. You think you can hurt me again? What a joke. Yin Chihua, will never suffer a second loss in the hands of the same person. After saying that, a scarlet wave of fire spurted out from his back, propelling his body forward explosively as he slashed with his saber in the air. Instant kill, golden flame slash. The golden-red saber projection sliced through the air, turning this part of the world into a vacuum. Yi Chun looked very calm as his index and middle fingers rested on the tip of the sword handle. That sword attack landed right in the middle of the golden-red saber light. The air started to ripple. After a light popping sound, the saber light suddenly shattered. It was split open in the middle like a piece of cloth that had been torn apart. Why does it seem like there's a shadow of the silent ace attack in there? Li Daoxian looked surprised. That sword attack of Yi Chen's seemed to have nothing to do with his silent ace attack. However, in his eyes, it clearly contained the mystery of hiding the sword light, which was extremely tough and penetrating. He had guessed it right. Yi Chen had indeed added a bit of the silent ace attack into it, but it was not as powerful as Li Daoxuan's. But combined with the sky-shattering clouds, sword movement, and poetic perspective, this sword attack was not only tough, but also had the effect of tearing everything apart. It was the evolved version of the sky-shattering clouds. Yin Chihua was dazed for a second. He had never fought with Yi Chen before, so he did not know how powerful he was. But after fighting with him for a while, he felt that his opponent's mature battle experience was definitely not something that ordinary people could compare with. Every time, he would always be able to cause the most damage with the least cost. With Yi Chen as his biggest enemy, Yin Chihua looked extremely serious as he crazily activated his 9-turn Fire Spirit Art. 7 turns of Fire Spirit Art, Red Flame Battle Body. Every time his 9-turn Fire Spirit Art increased by 1 turn, his power would increase tremendously. At the 7th turn, he could already beat Li Daoxian in its normal state. Now that he had evolved the 7th turn to the high rank, the Red Flame Battle Body, all of his Zhun Qi seemed to be burning up. His aura only increased, and very soon, he had broken through his original level. Crack! The platform under his feet could not handle that aggressive and burning power anymore. Countless twisted cracks appeared on it as the fire qi rose up. In less than half a blink of an eye, Yin Chihua's aura and battling power had increased to the next level. He roared as his whole body jumped up from the ground. That bright red long blade sliced through the air, dragging out a light black light mark in the air. The light mark was not affected by the gravity, which had increased the speed of the blade light drastically. Aurora Fire Lightning. Fire Cloud, Earth Crack Cut. Off the stage, all of the young warriors who had seen Yin Chihua's powerful attack had lost their composure. They had not expected that Yin Chihua would be this horrifying when he had used his real power. He was like a fire demon. Lin Yun, who had also trained fire element Jin Qi, was no different from a kid in front of him. Focusing his eyes slightly, Yi Chen's body became blurry, turning into layers of shadows that spread out in all directions. It was like a startled moth flying in the sky. Yin Chihua, who was standing in front of him, laughed wildly. Do not waste your time. Once the fire cloud earth crack cut is performed, the ghosts and the gods will be destroyed. Just as he finished talking, the blade light spread out, looking like a fire cloud in the sky, burning the sky red. Shoo! 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 Pieces of black shadows have been burned into smoke one after another, disappearing completely. The people in the audience seats could not help but scream. The battle between Yin Chihua and Yi Chun had been full of twists and turns. At first, Yi Chun had the upper hand, but now it was Yin Chihua who had the upper hand. And it seemed like Yin Chihua's advantage was much more obvious. All the people from the Sky Cloud Martial School looked worried. Right now, it would be a lie if they did not hope for Yi Chun to win the first place. As long as he could beat Yin Chihua, Yi Chun would be able to fight against Si Kong Sheng. By then, no matter if he won or lost, it would be enough to shock the whole South Ritter region and bring endless luck to the Sky Cloud Martial School. However, Yin Chihua was just too powerful. Only Su Jing's expression did not change at all. Yi Chen's real power was way more powerful than everyone had imagined. This was her instinct about Yi Chun. The separating shadow, flying art, which had been restricted to high-rank Earth realm, was broken. Yi Chun was a bit surprised, since his separating shadow flying art was different from normal flying arts. It had reached its current rank with the help of the Flow Rudra 3 mysterious spell, which allowed it to maintain the effect of the separating shadow flying art, and its speed was no weaker than other flying arts of the same rank. Of course, it was not enough to make him change his expression. He backed out of the way, and his sky-shattering cloud, which had been activated with his 60% sword intent, was ready to attack. He threw out a sword attack onto that aggressive fire cloud. Swoosh! The fire cloud was blown back. Yin Chihua's fire cloud, earth-shattering cut contained the poetic perspective of clouds and fire, while Yi Chen's sky-shattering cloud contained the poetic perspective of clouds and thunder. The two overlapped with each other. Playing with the poetic perspective of clouds in front of Yi Chen was no doubt asking for trouble. What? Yin Chihua backed out quickly, avoiding the attack of the fire cloud. The leader of the Fire Spirit Palace's expression changed drastically as he stared at Yi Chen. He was very clear about Yin Chihua's fire cloud, earth-shattering cut, which had reached a very high level of the poetic perspective of clouds. Added with the help of the poetic perspective of fire, it was way more powerful than just two poetic perspectives. However, under Yi Chen's sword attack, the poetic perspective of clouds had been used by him and had been pushed back. How could he not be shocked? Mortal realm martial arts focus on the aura, and there are very few poetic perspectives. As for Earth realm martial arts, without a poetic perspective, one would not be able to reach its peak. How could this guy's poetic perspective of clouds be more powerful than the red fire? How did he train it? There were countless powerful warriors in the Fire Spirit Palace, and a lot of them had completed the poetic perspectives of Earth realm martial arts. After witnessing and hearing about Yin Chihua's talent, he knew that among the young generation, he was only second to Si Kong Sheng. The leader of the Fire Spirit Palace did not believe that anyone could surpass his head disciple, Yin Chihua, in terms of poetic perspectives. Yin Chihua did not believe it, so he yelled, "Just now my attacks were too scattered. Let's see how you can break this attack." Fire Cloud Golden Flame Cut. It also contained the poetic perspective of clouds and fire, so the power of the Fire Cloud Golden Flame Cut was extra concentrated. It was thrown out with 60% of the peak blade intent, attacking toward Yi Chun. Stubborn. His body was as straight as a sword as Yi Chun held his Star Scar sword with both of his hands. The air around the sword body twisted and collapsed rapidly, looking like an ocean of clouds rolling. Then, lightning flashed, jumping around. Pap! A 1-meter thick lightning light shot out, which was actually formed from sword chi. The sky-shattering clouds used the poetic perspective of clouds as the main one, and the poetic perspective of thunder as the support. However, the way it was presented was the poetic perspective of thunder and the poetic perspective of clouds as the support. Therefore, at first glance, one would think that it was just the poetic perspective of thunder, but it was actually the poetic perspective of clouds combined with the poetic perspective of thunder. It could be called the poetic perspective of thunder and clouds. The lightning light attacked crazily, landing right in the middle of the golden red blade light. Countless arm-thick electric lights exploded, looking like snakes and spears, very eye-catching. Boom! The blade light was shattered. Yan Qihua had blood dripping out of the corner of his mouth as he backed out a couple of steps. He could not believe that his ace attack was completely useless in front of Yichun. It had been completely suppressed, which was something that he could not accept. After shattering Yan Qihua's ace attack with one sword attack, Yichun shook his head secretly. If it were someone else, perhaps he would have been beaten by Yan Qihua. Unfortunately, his opponent's poetic perspective of clouds was not as powerful as his, which was why he was naturally suppressed. Therefore, the power of his poetic perspective of fire had been greatly reduced. The world of martial artists was always complicated. Power was only the foundation, and the most important thing was how to turn one's disadvantage into one's advantage, not being suppressed. According to Yi Chen's knowledge, clasping Yuan realm warriors had only touched the surface of the poetic perspective. Once they reached the astral reaching realm, the poetic perspective would be the king. Without a high poetic perspective, one's power would be greatly reduced unless one's foundation was extremely powerful and could ignore other people's poetic perspectives. Just like the minor blood demon separating great art, which was a special earth realm martial art. It did not care about poetic perspectives, but only focused on increasing the warrior's power, which was the foundation. Therefore, for high-level warriors, the basic power was important, but the comprehensive ability was equally important. The former could increase one's natural advantage, while the latter could make up for one's weakness and win against the strong. With both, one would be a powerful warrior. I have not lost yet. Flame cut. After comprehending the peak level 60% blade intent, Yan Qihua's mentality was extra solid, and he would not be affected easily. Right then, he knew that the poetic perspective of clouds would not work on Yichun, so he used the pure poetic perspective of fire and threw it out together with his ace attack. The fire wave was extremely powerful, spreading out everywhere. Poetic perspectives alone are the hardest to understand. Your poetic perspective of fire is not even at the tip of the iceberg. Thunder light exploded as Yichun threw out a sword attack, cutting open the fire wave. His body flashed as he performed his separating shadow flying art. Layers of shadows spreading out in all directions. Ting! Without seeing the sword light, Yan Qihua's red long blade flew out of his hand. Chapter 283. His sword movement poetic perspective has obviously reached a very high level, almost the same as normal astral reaching realm warriors. It would be fine if Yichun did not expose his poetic perspective completely, but once he did, powerful astral reaching realm warriors would definitely be able to tell. Even clasping Yuan realm warriors will be able to sense the power of Yichun's poetic perspective. After blowing away Yan Qihua's long blade with one sword attack, Yichun jumped back to where he was standing. Talking about the poetic perspective, Yichun had found a different way. The others would use Earth Realm martial arts to slowly understand the poetic perspective, but he had learned it by combining sword movements. Both of them had their own advantages. Using a complete Earth Realm martial art to understand the poetic perspective would be easier and easier to master. However, combining sword movements was not only extremely difficult, but also easy to get stuck. But the advantage of combining sword movements was that during the process of combining, one would be able to understand the poetic perspective more thoroughly and control it more deeply. Therefore, although Yan Qihua had trained a very powerful martial art, he had lost to Yichun in terms of poetic perspective. After beating Yan Qihua, The dragon-shaped shadow on Yi Chen's body spun once before jumping onto his body, trying its best to devour the dragon fountain chi. 26 meters, 27 meters, 28 meters. Yan Chihua's dragon fountain chi was too rich, and Yi Chen's dragon-shaped shadow had grown to 28 meters, just like Xikong Sheng. Of course, Xikong Sheng and Yan Chihua still had a battle, and by then, it should be more than 28 meters, reaching the level of 29 meters. You are very powerful, but unfortunately, you will lose to him eventually. Yan Chihua glanced at Xikong Sheng, who was still in the audience, and reached out his hand to suck back his long blade. Yi Chan said, "We do not need to worry about that. I still have another battle with him. You will see the gap between us." Actually, Yan Chihua had already suspected that Xikong Sheng had reached that level. It was not until the battle between him and Murong Qingsheng, where he had almost shattered the ceiling light wall with one punch, that Yan Chihua finally realized the truth. Because of the arrangement of Xikong Sheng, Yan Chihua, and Yi Chan to the last two battles were a bit weird. Yan Chihua not only had to fight against Yi Chan, but also against Xikong Sheng, because he had lost to Yi Chan. However, the referees were prepared for this situation. They allowed the uninjured Yan Chihua to rest for half an hour before he went on stage. On the stage, Yan Chihua, who had lost to Yi Chan, held a long saber in his hand. His whole body was surrounded by flames, and his momentum was strong. It was obvious that he had upgraded the 9 Revolutions Fire Spirit technique to the 7th Revolution, the Crimson Flame Battle Body. I know you have reached that level, but I will still fight with all my power. Swinging his long blade, a deep burning mark appeared on the ground as Yan Chihua said to Xikong Sheng. Xikong Sheng's eyebrows flickered slightly. There should be a lot of people who know about it, but I did not expect you to be able to see it when you're only at the clasping Yuan realm. Yan Chihua said, "I'm not that far away from that level. Otherwise, I would have made a mistake as well." "Oh yeah? Make your move then. Fire Cloud Crack Earth Cut." Facing Xikong Sheng, Yan Chihua did not dare to hold back at all. One of his top 2 ace attacks, the Fire Cloud Crack Earth Cut, was thrown out aggressively, attacking towards his opponent like a flood. Fist Tyrant River. Xikong Sheng took out his right hand from his back. His fist was covered in a thick chi as he threw out a punch. Boom! The fist power was like a dragon crossing the ocean, unstoppable. It split open the fire cloud blade light within a second, attacking towards Yan Chihua. Among all of Yan Chihua's ace attacks, the Blink Kill Golden Flame Cut was the fastest. He threw out a blade attack, and a gold light flashed in the air, clashing with the fist power. Fist Conquering Mountains. Xikong Sheng lifted his feet as if they were light as a feather, walking over and throwing out another punch. Boom! The area around Yan Chihua had been restricted like a cage. Even the fire element Zhen Qi on his body seemed to be shrinking into his body. He roared, his red flame battle body exploding. The flame was so condensed that it looked like it was real, burning fiercely. It had burned through the air and part of the restriction. His second ace attack, the Fire Cloud Golden Flame Cut, was ready for the incoming attack. Xikong Sheng's battling power had increased steadily. He threw out a punch, and that powerful fist power had not only shattered Yan Chihua's blade light, it had also blown him away. That shocking power had made most of the people open their eyes wide. Yan Chihua was ranked 2nd in the last Hidden Dragon rank, and he was ranked 3rd this time. However, he could not even handle 2 punches from Xikong Sheng. What kind of level had Xikong Sheng reached? All of the astral-reaching realm warriors knew what was going on, but they were still shocked. So powerful. They are both from the young generation, but how could Xikong Sheng be this powerful? Yi Chan could not possibly be his opponent. People from the Sky Cloud Martial School looked at each other. The headmaster of the Sky Cloud Martial School forced a smile and said, "Yi Chan being able to reach the 2nd place is already beyond our imagination. There is no need to hope for the 1st place." Luo, Xinglia nodded. "I suspect that Xikong Sheng has entered the Zhen Yuan purification stage." Everyone was shocked and did not say anything for a long time. His feet landed on the ground unsteadily. Yanqiwa looked like he had expected it. This should be very close to your real power. Sikong Sheng said lightly. Too bad that you did not have the chance to experience it. Yes, none of us had the chance to experience it. But once I make it to this step, it will not be so clear who will win or lose. Putting his long blade back into its scabbard, Yanqiwa walked off the stage. After losing to Yi Chun and Sikong Sheng in a row, his rank had already been confirmed, the third place of the Hidden Dragon rank. When he walked off the stage, Yanqiwa glanced at Yi Chun as if he was saying, "You saw it. Without reaching that level, you will not be his opponent." Yi Chun looked the same, as if he had not heard it at all. Huh, it seems like you still have some tricks up your sleeves. However, no matter how many tricks you have up your sleeves, it would still be useless. Seeing Yi Chun's expression, Yanqiwa probably knew that Yi Chun still had some ace up his sleeves. Unfortunately, no matter how powerful his ace was, it would be useless if he did not have the same power. The battle between two geniuses would not be that easy to win against someone stronger than you. In the 70th round, there were 9 top young warriors who had fought before. Only Li Daoxian had not fought yet. After the battle between Yanqiwa and Sikong Sheng had finished, Lin Yun and Li Daoxian, who had already fought against each other, had started to fight. It was Lin Yun's last battle, and it was Li Daoxuan's 8th battle. The reason for the chaos in the competition was because of the problem of arranging Sikong Sheng, Yanqiwa, and Yi Chun to fight in the last 2 battles. After exchanging hundreds of attacks, Li Daoxian had barely won against Lin Yun. After resting for an hour, the 70th round had begun. In the 70th round, there were 6 battles in total. Therefore, there were only 4 battles left in the 70th round. They were Yi Chun against Sikong Sheng, Li Daoxian against Bing Ling, Murong Qingsheng against Gu Yuyan, and Tuo Baku against Mo Yin. As for Yanqiwa and Lin Yun, they had both gone through 9 battles and fought against 9 top young warriors. So, they would not be involved in this round of battles. First, it was Murong Qingsheng who had beaten Gu Yuyan, and then Tuo Baku who had beaten Mo Yin again. They had fought against each other before in the elimination battles, and then Li Daoxian had also beaten Bing Ling. In the end, there was only one battle between top young warriors left, which would be Yi Chun against Sikong Sheng. Yi Chun was the biggest dark horse in this year's Hidden Dragon rank competitions. He had been through all the battles and had won every single one of them. Up until now, he had not lost a single battle and had maintained his winning record. The most eye-catching thing was that his power had been increasing along with his opponent's power. He had hidden his ace cards quite well. In the last round, he had even surprised everyone by beating the Fire Spirit Prince, Yanqiwa. Sikong Sheng was ranked 2nd and 1st in the last Hidden Dragon rank, the king warrior of the young generation in the South River region. Even someone as powerful as Yanqiwa could not last 2 attacks against him. A lot of people suspected that Sikong Sheng's real power was way more than that. As for what his real ace card was, no one knew. This battle was not only the last battle between top young warriors, it was also the last battle of the 70th round. Countless people had their eyes on the two, holding their breaths. Shoo! Yi Chun got onto the stage first, with his long sword hanging on his waist. Sikong Sheng sneered as he took one step forward, appearing in front of Yi Chun within a second. His horrifying flying art had caused a lot of people to gasp. Your power is not bad. Even Yanqiwa had lost to you. But the second place will always be the second place. It will not change. Sikong Sheng stood there with his hands behind his back. That kind of aura spreading out through the ceiling light wall. This aura is so powerful. Has Sikong Sheng decided to use his real power? Everyone was shocked. Under the attack of his opponent's aura, Yi Chun's blue robe danced in the air, his long black hair flying in the air. His pitch-black, star-like eyes were calm like water, without arrogance or impatience, pure and natural. He was like a top sword artist standing on top of a cliff, neither happy nor sad. He said lightly, "Until the last second, no one can be sure of the real result. Do you still think so now?" Sikong Sheng did not try to explain as he took out both of his hands from his back. His body shook once, and that horrifying Zhen Qi shot out into the sky, covering the whole area. Visible with naked eyes, there were bits of broken light floating out of Sikong Sheng's body. They looked like precious stones, but also like diamonds, crystal clear and extremely condensed. This is Jinyuan. No, it is half-step Jinyuan. Sikong Sheng had actually started to train his Jinyuan. No wonder he was so powerful. Once he used his half-step Jinyuan, no one under the astral-reaching realm would be able to fight against him. I understand now. In the battles before, Sikong Sheng had diluted his half-step Jinyuan into Zhen Qi, which made it hard for people to see through his real power. Indeed, Jinyuan could not be diluted into Zhen Qi, but half-step Jinyuan could. Sikong Sheng had hidden his power too well. Yichen would definitely not be his opponent. No, even Tin Yichen would not be his opponent. A king warrior of the young generation with half-step Jinyuan would be able to compete with real early astral-reaching realm warriors. He might even be able to kill them. Once Sikong Sheng used his half-step Jinyuan, no one thought that Yichen would have any chance of winning, including people from the Sky Cloud Martial School and the leader of the South River Martial School. Everyone from the Purple Sun Martial School even had a gloating expression on their faces. Yichen beating Yin Qihua had already pissed them off, and if he were to get the first place, then it would be even worse. Luckily, there was Sikong Sheng, so it would be impossible for Yichen to get the first place. Do you think you can win against me now? Inside his body, the half-step Jinyuan was extremely powerful. Sikong Sheng's aura kept on increasing, as if it would never stop. It attacked on Yichen's body, wave after wave. Yichen lifted his eyelids, a shocking sharp light shooting out from his pupils as he said word by word, "I've said it before, until the last one, no one can be sure of the real result." As the last word was spoken, the air around Yichen started to vibrate. The air seemed to have been pierced through, as if a legendary weapon was about to come out of its scabbard and kill the whole world. The next second, an extremely horrifying sword intent shot out of his body, piercing through the air. Even the ceiling light wall seemed to be shaking. It was an existence that had surpassed the 60% sword intent. The 70% sword intent, which contained the immortal mentality, exploded. Chapter 284. All of a sudden, the whole battling field became so quiet that even the sound of a needle dropping on the ground could be heard. After 2 or 3 blinks of an eye, the crowd started to chatter again. This is the 70% sword intent. Am I seeing it right? Although there's only a 10% difference between 70 and 60%, 70% sword intent has already reached the upper realm of the sword intent, while 60% is only the lower realm. The two are completely different, just like the difference between a high-level warrior and a low-level warrior. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. Yichen's ace card is the 70% sword intent. Even among the astral-reaching realm warriors, very few of them have reached this level. Everyone was shocked, unable to believe what they had just heard. In the front row of the audience seating, Song Yin, the astral-reaching realm warrior who had competed with Yichen for the sword-shaped plant in the gold tripod city auction, was slightly shocked. He remembered that at that time, Yichen's sword intent was only at 50%. Could it be that the 2 sword-shaped plants had directly increased his sword intent by 20%? It did not seem possible. The sword-shaped plant contained a bit of the Battle King's sword intent, but if one wanted to increase the sword intent with the plant, the chance would be extremely small. It would already be extremely lucky if 1 out of 10 people managed to do it, not to mention increasing it by 20% all of a sudden. Plus, there was a huge gap between the 60% and 70% sword intent. The 60% sword intent was still at the lower realm of the sword intent, while the 70% sword intent was the upper realm. Once one managed to reach the upper realm, it would mean that one had made a great achievement in the sword intent, which would be very meaningful. Before, Song Yin had bought a sword-shaped plant from Yichen, but it had only helped him a little bit. His sword intent did not increase at all, and was still at 90%. No matter what, in order to increase the sword intent, one would need to have an extremely powerful understanding of the sword art. Otherwise, Even a life and death realm warrior would not be able to be one's teacher. A rare genius of the sword art. Song Yin took a deep breath, his eyes shining brightly. The second Yi Chan released his 70% sword intent, Li Daoxian had finally understood why he had that kind of instinct. It turned out that the biggest reason was Yi Chan, who was powerful enough to compete with Si Kongsheng. This was his real ace card. Before, he had not been serious at all. The realm of sword intent is indeed terrifyingly strong. Li Daoxian made a comparison and found that the 60% sword intent didn't even look like it was going to raise its head in front of the 70% sword intent. As for Yin Qihua, he had almost bitten his own tongue. He had never thought that Yi Chen's hidden ace would be the 70% sword intent. The sword intent was just like the blade intent. The higher the level, the more difficult it would be. But at the same time, the power would also be more and more terrifying. Moreover, the 70% sword intent was the upper level of the sword intent. If Yi Chen used his 70% sword intent during the battle, not only would Yin Qihua's peak 60% blade intent not be able to compete with it, but he would also be suppressed and would only be able to use 80% of his power. Impossible. How can his sword intent be at such a high level? The leader of the Purple Sun Martial School, Tu Chongshan, tightened his fists. The more powerful Yi Chan was, the more of a threat he would be to the Purple Sun Martial School. Given time, once he reached the astral reaching realm, even the Great Master might not be able to suppress him, which was not what Tu Chongshan wanted to see. The headmaster of the Purple Sun Martial School had a bad look on his face as he sneered. Si Kongsheng is not a pushover. The half-step Jin Yuan had increased his power in all aspects, and he would be able to compete with early astral reaching realm warriors. But Yi Chan cannot be allowed to live either. After the Hidden Dragon rank competitions, we will find a chance to kill him, no matter how high the price is. Indeed, this guy cannot be allowed to live. Otherwise, the Purple Sun Martial School would never have a chance to rise again. Kill. All of the people from the Purple Sun Martial School had a murderous look on their faces. On the judge's seat, the 13 judges gasped. I had thought that Si Kongsheng would definitely win. But now, it seems like the first place of the Hidden Dragon rank is not a foregone conclusion. One of the judges sighed. The former Group 3 judge who had been watching Yi Chan win all the battles nodded. Not even 18 years old, 70% sword intent. This has definitely broken the record of the sword artists in the South Ridra region for decades. It would not be wrong to call him the rare sword art genius in the South Ridra region. It is not easy to make a conclusion yet. The head judge said, extracting Zhen Yuan depends on the rank of the martial arts, and the number of times is different. 4 mid-rank Earth Realm martial arts. It would take 8 times to convert the Zhen Qi into Zhen Yuan. 4 high-rank Earth Realm martial arts. It would take 4 times, and for top-rank Earth Realm martial arts, it would take 2 times. Si Kongsheng had already done it once, and he was at the half-step Zhen Yuan level. Although it would not be like the Zhen Yuan, which could burn the Zhen Yuan to increase the power, the quality would be way better than normal Zhen Qi. The attacking power it would bring would not just be a little bit, but would be doubled. If Yi Chan wants to compete with Si Kongsheng, it would still be a bit difficult for him to do it with only 70% sword intent. Extracting Zhen Yuan was a very difficult process, and it would take a long time. Even a martial genius would not be able to do it in a short amount of time. But once it was done once, the power would increase drastically, and he would be able to reach the next level. With 70% sword intent coming out of his body, Yi Chan felt a lot more relaxed. Before, he had limited his sword intent, which made it hard for him to fight freely. But Yi Chan believed that if there was a Yi Chan who had only learned 60% sword intent, he would definitely be able to beat him, who had limited his sword intent to 60%, because the former would be the most comfortable way for him to fight, while he would have to put on the shackles of his own accord, which would make it different. The pure, horrifying sword intent spread out in the air, piercing through the air. Si Kongsheng's storm-like aura had been shattered into nothingness by the sword intent once it got close. Right then, Yi Chan was like a godly weapon that had been unearthed from the ground, telling the world what it meant to be sharp and unstoppable. Pooh! Sikong Sheng could vaguely hear his aura being shattered. His slightly raised eyelids finally dropped down, his eyes looking at Yi Chun at the same level. Very good. I thought it would be a one-sided battle. Right now, you're qualified for me to be serious. But of course, that is all. His aura had stopped spreading out, and Sikong Sheng took back his aura. His not-so-tall body was like a mountain, an unreachable peak. Under the influence of the sword intent, the Star Scar sword vibrated slightly, seeming to want to get out of its scabbard and kill everything in front of it. Yichen did not look happy or angry as he said, "No need to talk anymore. Let's fight." Once the word fight came out, Yichen's sword intent became even sharper. Everyone seemed to see a peerless great sword floating above Yichen's head, which would be able to kill with just a thought. All of the young girls saw this scene, their hearts beating extremely fast, and their faces blushed. Let me remind you that only with the help of half-step Jinyuan can my mysterious Sky Tyrant fist art perform its peak power. With both of his hands hanging casually on his sides, Sikong Sheng took a step forward. That ocean-like aura exploded again, looking down on the whole world. Sikong Sheng is going to attack. This is his first real attack. The young generation under the stage could feel their hearts racing uncontrollably. Their mouths were all dry, and they could not even blink their eyes, afraid to miss the most crucial moment. His aura exploding to its limit, Sikong Sheng yelled, "Take my first fist attack. Fist conquering the world." Boom! The battling platform shook violently, cracks appearing out of nowhere. Then, the space where Yi-chan was suddenly tightened and collapsed, forming a natural prison, trapping Yi-chan inside. At the same time, that powerful fist power attacked out along with Sikong Sheng's aura. Crack! 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 After throwing out one fist attack, the battling platform, which had gone through countless battles and was only slightly damaged, created a tunnel. That aggressive chi flow made everyone's scalp numb. Chin. Yichin took out his Star Scar sword with his right hand. His 70% sword intent had found a target to attach to. That horrifying sharp light spread out in all directions, shocking everyone. Right then, the sword intent was the most powerful sword intent. If a sword artist did not take out his sword, the sword intent would not be able to perform its peak power. Sky-shattering clouds. A half-meter thick bolt of lightning shot out. Not only did it break free from the shackles of space, it also absorbed enough thunder and cloud elemental energy from the air. Under everyone's dumbfounded gaze, it heavily slammed into the fist energy. Boom! The air started to explode. That horrifying collision power formed a visible shining pattern and horrifying chi flow. The ceiling light wall could no longer handle the destructive power of the two attacks and started to expand to its limit. Along with a popping sound, countless tiny cracks appeared. The chi flow and the remaining sword chi shot out through the cracks, looking like countless arm-thick light pillars. Looking over, the whole battling platform looked like a shining hedgehog. The ceiling light wall had been punctured. Everyone was shocked. Watch out! Around the battling platform was an abyss, and on the other side of the abyss was where the young warriors were standing. Seeing those beams of chi flow and sword chi shooting towards them, the young warriors screamed out loud. They all performed their ace attacks to protect themselves while backing out step by step. So horrifying! Just the aftermath of the chi flow is enough to make us use all of our power. The young warriors could feel the gap between them and the two on the stage, so they were getting more and more shocked. Murong Qingchang waved off the chi flow attack, staring at the two on the stage without blinking. More specifically, she was paying attention to Yi Chun, the one who had shocked everyone from the beginning to the end. Yi Chun and Sikong Sheng both backed out dozens of meters at the same time. That exchange just now was more or less a test, so it was not their most powerful attack. Half-step Jinyuan is indeed powerful. It was the first time that Yi Chun had felt such a huge pressure. If he did not use all of his power, he might very well lose. The young king warriors of the South Ritter region were always talking nonsense. 70% sword intent, the poetic perspective of cloud and thunder. Si Gongsheng looked surprised. As Yi Qin's 70% sword intent exploded, his martial poetic perspective had also reached an extremely high level, and he could not afford to underestimate it. Waving his sleeves, Si Gongsheng said lightly, "Being able to block out this fist attack means that you indeed have the power to compete with me. But that was just a test. For the next one, you will have to be extra careful." The mountain-conquering fist had the effect of binding space, so its attacking power would inevitably be a bit weaker. Si Gongsheng knew that instead of binding his opponent, it would be better to beat his opponent with absolute power. This sword attack was also my test. The sky-shattering clouds does not only have this kind of power. For this hidden dragon rank competition, Yi Qin had prepared a lot. He had more than 3 ace attacks, 2 of which he would not use unless absolutely necessary. Still just a test? No way. The first exchange between the two had already shocked everyone. Now hearing them say that it was just a test, everyone was speechless. Chapter 285. Indeed, these two have already surpassed our level. Before the competitions of the Hidden Dragon rank had started, Baku had used his wild instinct to guess that Si Gongsheng and Yi Qin were the most powerful warriors. Right now, his guess had come true. Si Gongsheng's biggest ace was his half-step Jin Yuan, while Yi Qin's was 70% sword intent. No one in the young generation could threaten them. On the battling platform, Yi Qin held his Star Scar sword, the Jin Qi inside his body operating at extreme speed. His sharp sword intent and sword aura continued to climb, preparing for the next powerful sword attack. Si Gongsheng, who was standing in front of him, was also accumulating his power. His fist aura was extremely rich, turning into waves of powerful poetic perspectives. The two had gotten rid of the feeling of testing each other and decided to use all of their power. Boom! It was almost within the same second that the two started to attack each other fiercely. Sky-shattering clouds. 5 movements combined. Yi Qin's pupils had almost been dyed into a bright blue color, which was the color of thunder and lightning. His body was running at an extreme speed, while the Star Scar sword in his hand had turned into a lightning light attacking crazily. His speed was extremely fast, with a hint of lightness in it. Fist Tyrant River. Si Gongsheng looked very serious as he threw out an ace attack. That powerful fist aura had pierced through the air in front of him. Boom! The thunder sword light and the powerful fist power clashed together. The whole battling platform started to shake. The broken rocks on the platform floated up into the air, turning into a strange, still state. The next second, the air started to vibrate like boiling water. That aggressive chi power spread out in all directions, exploding suddenly. Yi Qin could not stop his body and was blown hundreds of meters away by that chi power. Such a condensed fist power. Yi Qin controlled his chi and blood that were going against the flow. Although that sword attack was still his sky-shattering clouds, it was the combination of 5 movements of his sky cloud sword art. It was more than twice as powerful as the combination of 4 movements. After all, he had spent so many days in the competitions, and it had given him a lot of inspiration. However, Si Gongsheng's fist power was even more aggressive. It had been completely combined into one. With only one fist power, it had shaken the whole world. The sword intent and the poetic perspective of thunder and clouds had both been shattered by it. His mysterious Sky Tyrant fist art is probably the most horrifying top-rank Earthrealm fist art. No matter the movements or mentality, they're all top-notch. I am slightly disadvantaged in terms of martial art rank. Although fusing sword moves could solve the problem temporarily, it was not a long-term solution after all. If he wanted to have more potential, he would have to find a top-rank Earthrealm sword art to cultivate. Of course, top-rank Earthrealm martial arts couldn't be lacking either. However, my mentality of thunder and clouds is not ordinary either. Combined with 70% sword intent, its explosive power is definitely top-notch. Yi Qin let out a breath, looking at Si Gongsheng in front of him. Under the explosion of his chi, Si Gongsheng had backed out less than 10 meters compared to Yi Qin. However, he was not feeling any better either. That Thunder Sword light was full of explosive power, and it had released its most powerful power in a very short period of time, which made the fist power of the mysterious Sky Tyrant fist unable to shatter it immediately. The reason why he was able to back out less than 10 meters was because Xikong Sheng's basic power was more powerful than Yi Chen's. No matter cultivation, Zhenqi quality, or quantity, he was more powerful than Yi Chen. This was his biggest advantage, but also Yi Chen's biggest disadvantage. Good, very good. In these 3 years, you're the first young warrior that could make me back out. You should be proud. Lifting up his eyes, Xikong Sheng's gaze was like that of a god, full of confidence, but now I will not hold back anymore. You need to be prepared to be badly wounded. Just bring it on. No need to talk too much. Yi Chen's sword intent was condensed without disappearing. It was getting sharper and sharper, shaking the air around him. In fact, up until now, he had never truly released his 70% sword intent, because his 70% sword intent was different from other people's 70% sword intent. From the Battle King's 2 sword intents, he had learned a little bit of Immortal mentality. After a couple of months of accumulation, his sword intent could finally stay in the real world for 5 blinks of an eye. It was an extremely horrifying improvement, since even other people's completed sword intent did not have this kind of effect. Shoo! Moving his body within a second, Xikong Sheng wanted to get close to Yi Chen and attack him with a deadly attack. My movement art is not weaker than yours either. As the wind blew, Yi Chen's body disappeared like a pile of black smoke. Seeing that, Xikong Sheng frowned. In his sight, Yi Chen's figure could no longer be seen. Yi Chen's movement art was also at the top rank Earth Realm, and it contained a very special effect. His whole body seemed to have turned into a shadow. Since this is the case, take my fist-shattering river. Stopping his body, Xikong Sheng locked onto Yi Chen again, throwing out a fist attack. Immortal Sky, shattering clouds. The immortal mentality from his sword intent had been poured into his sword movement. Yi Chen held his Star Scar sword with both of his hands, throwing out a dark blue thunder light towards Xikong Sheng. The thunder light was like a waterfall, shooting out violently. Crack! Crack! A weird scene happened. Xikong Sheng's fist power was extremely condensed, but no matter how powerful it was, it could not shatter the thunder light formed by the sword chi. It seemed like that thunder light had the ability to repair itself, as it continued to absorb power from the surreal space. Within a blink of an eye, the fist power and the sword chi exploded at the same time, combining together and creating a horrifying chi tornado that spread out crazily. Boom! Yi Chen's back was stuck on the ceiling light wall. He tasted something sweet in his mouth, and blood dripped out from the corner of his mouth. His protective Zhenqi was still a bit weak after all, and could not block out the vibration of the fist power completely. Added with the aftershock of the chi tornado, he was slightly wounded. Shoo! Backing out for almost 100 meters, Xikong Sheng's confident expression froze. Within the chi tornado, a beam of sword chi shot out, brushing past his left arm and bringing up a stream of blood. Such a horrifying chi tornado had not been able to shatter the sword chi completely. There was still a bit of it left, attacking Xikong Sheng. Horrifying! What kind of sword chi was that? The audience gasped one after another. Everyone in the younger generation was stunned. The intensity of the battle was beyond their imagination. The ceiling light curtain was like a leaking balloon. From time to time, 1 or 2 beams of chi would shoot out, riddling the light curtain with thousands of holes. Xikong Sheng has been hit by the sword chi. Yi Chen's 70% sword intent is way more powerful than the normal 70% sword intent. It would be impossible to destroy it within a short period of time. Otherwise, Xikong Sheng would not be wounded at all. In the beginning, although Yi Chen had exploded with that horrifying 70% sword intent, there were not many people who thought he would win, including the 13 judges. However, after a while of battling, Yi Chen had not only not fallen into a disadvantage, but had even managed to fight against Xikong Sheng. Right now, Yi Chen had crashed into the ceiling light wall and was slightly wounded, but Xikong Sheng had also been scratched by the sword chi on his left arm, which was also slightly wounded. The record of being unwounded in the last hidden dragon rank had been broken. Is this still the young generation? Even the warriors who had just reached the astral reaching realm would not be this powerful. A battle between the top of the young generation. If the hidden dragon rank competitions want to surpass this battle, it would be extremely hard. It would be almost impossible in the next hundreds of years. Indeed, their battle was already like the battle between normal early astral reaching realm warriors. It would be extremely rare. Once they reached the astral reaching realm, it would be even more powerful. Everyone was shocked. The battle had progressed to this point, and it had already gone beyond their imagination. No one knew what would happen next. Ji Shuiyan could feel that her heart was beating extremely fast. All she could see was Yi Chun, who was bleeding from the corner of his mouth. Su Jing and Murong Qinsheng were all focused on Yi Chun as well. Damn, how is this possible? The leader of the Purple Sun Martial School, Tu Chongshan, gasped at first, then became extremely furious. He had never thought that Yi Chun would be able to fight against Si Kongshan. He thought that once Si Kongshan got serious, Yi Chun would lose. So scary. He is definitely a monster. Right now, he already has the power to threaten early astral reaching realm warriors. All of the core masters of the Purple Sun Martial School looked at each other. There was a heavy worry and killing intent in their eyes. Tu Chongshan tried his best to control his emotions. He thought to himself word by word, no matter what, you are going to die. I will let you live a little longer. What a strange sword chi. It is so hard to destroy. Si Kongshan sealed the bleeding meridian on his left arm as he looked at Yi Chun, who was hundreds of meters away. Even though he had the half-step Zhen Yuan protection, it was still pierced through by that almost indestructible sword chi. If it were not for his fast reflexes, that sword chi would have gone through his left arm for sure, instead of just brushing past his skin. It was a very dangerous situation indeed. The immortal mentality is indeed powerful. Within 5 blinks of an eye, the sword chi is almost impossible to destroy completely. There would always be some left to attack. Even Yi Chun himself was a bit surprised. Ever since he had learned the 70% sword intent, he had never fought with anyone with all of his power. He did not know exactly what the immortal mentality could do. But through this battle, he had learned how powerful the immortal mentality was. On the other hand, the Battle King's power had shocked him even more. That was a sword intent that had not disappeared for 500 years. How much immortal mentality was contained in it? From now on, you will not have another chance. Si Kongshan's eyes were cold. His body kept flashing, as if he had teleported for a short distance, approaching Yi Chun. Yi Chun performed his separating shadow flying art to increase the distance between them. It was not yet the time for him to perform his lone peak kill. In fact, it was already unknown whether or not the lone peak kill would work. His opponent's half-step Jin Yuan was not within his expectation, which had lowered the possibility of killing him with one attack. In everyone's sight, they could not even see a human figure on the vast battling platform. All they could see were piles of black smoke and human shadows flashing endlessly. The former was Yi Chun's separating shadow flying art. When pushed to its limit, the black shadow would be like smoke, leaving no trace behind. The latter was Si Kongshan's teleportation art. Because of its extreme speed, it would only appear once in a while, making it hard to tell where it was. Lose! All of a sudden, Si Kongshan flashed twice and appeared not far away from Yi Chun, throwing out a punch that seemed to be able to break through the surreal space. Danger! Yi Chun's body turned into black smoke, disappearing with the wind. Pooh! Having lost its target, the fist power did not stop. It blew through the ceiling light wall, creating a huge hole. No way! The ceiling light wall has been broken through. Before, the ceiling light wall had been broken by the chi tornado created by the two's attacks. It was just a small hole which was not that big. Right now, Si Kongshan had thrown out a punch and broken through the ceiling light wall all by himself, which made everyone open their eyes wide. They knew that it meant that Si Kongshan's full power attack could already break through an early astral reaching realm warrior's protective Jin Yuan layer.